graduating from St. John's University. He was drawn to the natural beauty of the area as a young man, and over the years became a fixture of the area's vibrant social life. He was an avid fisherman, swimmer, and skilled golfer, a generous supporter of numerous causes, including Mckeon Land Trust, Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, and his alma mater, Archbishop Malloy High School in Queens. John was also a member of the Southampton Town Planning Board from 2000 to 2020. We also lost Sierra Mckeon. She died tragically on February 11th after being struck by an SUV the day before in the parking lot of Anclote High School in Tampa Bay. She was in her second year there as a physical education teacher and tennis coach. She was 28 years young. Sierra graduated from West Hampton Beach High School in 2011. There she was one of an increasingly rare three-sport athlete, excelling in soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. She realized her dream of playing college lacrosse by securing a spot on the team at SUNY Brockport. After graduation, she set her sights on being a teacher, another goal she achieved when she moved to Florida and took a position at Anclote High School. She was an ocean lifeguard at Ponquag Beach in Hampton Bays in the summers over the past 10 years. Sierra's love of sports, the outdoors, the ocean, and most of all, family and friends are what will come to mind when people think about her in the future. So let's join together in remembrance of these two individuals who we just recently lost. Let's send our prayers to the families, friends of these individuals, and let's give a moment of silence in their honor. Thank you, everybody. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Schneider,
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara,
Muted,
Martell.
perhaps?
Here.
Cindy, you're muted. Councilman Bouvier,
Here.
Councilman Scavone.
Present.
All right, everybody's here. I want to just add two, or at least try to add two more resolutions onto the agenda. We have resolution 39704 and 39714. The first is the warrant number 4, and the second authorizes the suspension of a police officer. So I'd like to make a motion to walk those onto our agenda. Seconded by Councilman Martell. This requires 4 out of 5. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. And we'll take those up later. Next, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular town board meeting of February 8th, 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Next, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners meeting on February 10th, 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. All right, that brings us to communications. Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
The following communications have been received in my office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the New York Department of Public Service, notice of public statement hearings regarding broadband assessment program, Suffolk County Department of Economic Development and Planning, their notice of Suffolk County Downtown Revitalization Grant Application Availability for 2022, Village of Southampton Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Application for a location at 1 Hampton Road in Southampton Village. New York State liquor license, 30-day advance notice to municipality from the listed entities, and financial disclosure statement was filed by the listed individual. Emails, letters, petitions, and land use applications have been received regarding the following. Central Pine Barrens Commission decision regarding the Quag Wildlife Refuge Core Preservation Area compelling public need hardship. Chapter 235, regulating operation of gas-powered leaf blowers. CPF acquisition of sacred Shinnecock ancestral lands, Shinnecock Hills. Disclosure of interest memo from Councilwoman McNamara. Petition to ban arts fairs at Corwith Avenue, Bridgehampton. Zoning Board of Appeals matter of 808 Mecox Road, Bridgehampton. Zoning Board of Appeals application for a location at Waters Edge Road in Southampton. The following bid openings took place for 2 Ford F-350 trucks for the Highway Department on February 9th, and an RFP for a license agreement for the operation of a boat provision shop and fuel station at Point Marina on February 17th. That concludes the communications for this meeting agenda.
All right, thank you, Sunday. All right, we have 4 public hearings scheduled for this evening. I'll ask our clerk to read the first public hearing notice.
Public hearing number 1, to consider amending Town Code Chapter 240, Old Filed Maps. Town Code Chapter 330-53, Old Filed Map Overlay District General Regulations to incorporate review by the town's engineering division.
All right, Kathleen Murray, I believe, is going to introduce this. We're also joined by Town Engineer Tom Horton. So I guess we'll start with Deputy Town Attorney Kathleen Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, members of the Town Board. For many years, the review of old file maps has been undertaken by the town's planning department with review and input from your engineering division. Over time, however, the review of plans from the engineering division has become much more detailed and time-consuming, particularly given the challenging location and terrain in which some of these old file map parcels are located. For example, details or land issues and concerns that the engineering division are reviewing include grading, slopes, drainage, topography, road contours, and oftentimes larger than anticipated tributary areas. All of these factors require a comprehensive review by the engineering division to ensure that appropriate road and drainage plans are designed and implemented. So the purpose of the local law before you is to recognize that comprehensive review that is currently being done by your engineering division for parcels located within the old file map overlay district, and to formally incorporate that review into the town code, inclusive of a commensurate review fee. We have received correspondence from the Suffolk County Planning Commission indicating that this is a matter for local determination, and your planning board will be reviewing it at its upcoming meeting this Thursday. As the supervisor indicated, we're joined by your town engineer, Tom Houghton, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have for myself, or Tom is available as well to talk about his review of these applications.
All right, Tom, did you want to say anything at the outset?
Just that we have increasingly seen very complex road plans in front of us in order to tie sometimes upward of 4 to 8 lots together. And we tend to spend a lot of time reviewing these plans just to make sure that they're in conformance with good highway standards and that the road drainage plans are something that the contractor can build. So it is very helpful for us to be able to codify our review because we are a referral from the planning board. Thank you.
All right, any questions from the board for either Tom or Kathleen? To either Tom or Kathleen.
Are all of these applications referred to the engineering department? Is there any old field map applications that are not referred to engineering?
I believe they are all referred,
I think-
Councilman Scavone, but it's not formally within the code. And so we've had a little bit of trouble with some applicants who claim that they don't have to follow the town engineering's recommendations because they're really recommendations. So at this point, we'd like to make that review formal.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
So the sum and substance of this is really just that one line and the engineering division?
Correct. You'll see it's located at two spots. I can share my screen if you care for me to do so. It's at 243-4A and 330-53C and G. And it's very minor additions, as you noted, just adding engineering division.
Right, and engineering division, right, twice. Okay. All right, let's go to the public. I know there's a lot of people.
Just
Oh,
one
I'm sorry,
question.
John, Councilman Bouvier?
Yeah, one question. I believe this resolution was on for tonight, Kathleen, is that correct?
Well,
Including
it
our-
was Councilman Bouvier, but it will have to be tabled because we don't yet have the referral from this town planning board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to go to the public. This always gets confusing, though. There's a lot of people who are here watching and want to participate at certain points, but at this juncture, we're only taking comment on this public hearing, codifying the referral to the engineering department for these old filed maps. So if that's what you want to be heard on, we will certainly allow you to make your comments known, in which case I ask that you click the raise hand icon and we'll bring you in. If you want to speak on any other matter, this is not the right time. Just this one narrow change to the town code to codify the referral to the engineering department. Charles, is there anyone?
I see no hands at this time.
All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Mr. Supervisor, would you allow for 10-day written comments, please?
Oh, we have to leave it open too for the planning board comments.
Please.
All right, so let me change my motion. So I will modify it to close the public hearing, but leave the written record open for 10 days for the receipt of the planning board comments. That's all we're looking for, right?
Correct.
Okay.
same second?
All right, same second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Kathleen, for that. All right, Madam Clerk, would you read the second public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 2, to consider a local law amending Town Code Chapter 235 entitled Noise to add provisions implementing a seasonal restriction and otherwise regulating the use, operation of gas-powered leaf blowers.
All right, I think Deputy Town Attorney Christine Scalera is introducing this, if I'm correct.
Yes, Supervisor, thank you. Good evening, members of the board. As you'll recall from our last work session, what this legislation seeks to do is to amend Chapter 235 entitled Noise to distinguish gas-powered leaf blower operation by restricting their use from May 20th through September 20th, and then regulating the hours of operation in season, which would be 9/21 to 5/19, to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 5 p.m. on Saturdays, and no use on Sundays and federal holidays. It further adds a couple of restrictions relative to walk-behind gas-powered leaf blowers, which says it may not be used unless the property that is being cleaned is greater than 1/2 acre. And in addition, no more than a total of 2 gas-powered handheld or backpack leaf blowers may be used at a time unless the property that is being cleaned is greater than 1/2 acre. And both of those restrictions would be for in-season use. So that would be that 9/21 to 5/19 timeframe. Nothing's changed since the work session that we had, so I think everybody's pretty well versed in what's in here. And pursuant to Councilman Bouvier's desire to see this move forward, he's suggested that we make this effective in 5/22, which would be this season. However, as a policy, not seek to enforce or implement until September of 2022. So the only thing you would see should we be going forth with the local law as it is presented to you is that I would be adding an effective date to indicate that May 2022 date as when we would be starting. And I'm available to answer any questions. And I see Dieter is also here.
Okay, John, did you want to say anything before we go to the public?
No, I think Christine covered it quite well. I don't really have anything to add. Well, maybe I do. On the town website, we have provided information that is the underpinnings for the legislation. That's readily available. The legislation is also available to the public. And I wanted to implement the grace period to allow for those changes as Ms. Scalera had indicated. That's it.
John, can I just ask you, if you're not going to be enforcing the law until mid-September, why don't you just make the effective date September then?
Well,
Date
just
that you begin enforcement.
with our code enforcement department, particularly Ryan Murphy, we worked out that this would be a good opportunity for his code enforcement officers to work on their process and procedures for enforcement, and would only give notification that they're in violation, but no fines or no cost to doing that until September 22nd, not 20th. It just gives the code enforcement the ability to get their process together in order to enforce in September.
Okay, so with that, oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman McNamara?
Yeah, I don't want to take a lot of time because I know we have a long night ahead, but I want to address a few things before we go to the public on this. I want to start by saying that I respect every member of this board, and while we may not agree on everything, we all care deeply about the residents of the town of Southampton. We wouldn't be here if we didn't. Nothing I'm about to say came from the supervisor or any of my fellow councilmen. In the past few weeks, I have had my integrity questioned. I have been accused of not caring about the health and well-being of immigrant workers or the environment. I have been asked to recuse myself from this legislation, which for those that don't know, means I would have to get up and leave the room every time it is discussed. I knew that this legislation was going to come up at some point and sought legal counsel regarding the ethics of my involvement. I have acted on the advice of counsel on this issue since the start of my term. I campaigned on this issue, and walking out of the room would be akin to walking out on those that voted to put me in this seat. 2 years ago, after speaking at a meeting during public portion, Councilman Bouvier asked me to address the Sustainability Committee regarding my concerns about a seasonal gas-powered leaf blower ban. At that meeting, after raising many concerns, I asked the committee to consider doing several things. I asked them to open a dialogue with the owners of small landscaping companies, including Latino-owned companies, consider education and training opportunities, work on ways to make the current noise code and licensing more enforceable, and lastly, work on incentives to help companies invest in green technology. I left that meeting feeling as if none of my concerns mattered and none of the suggestions I made would be acted on. It was that meeting that sparked my decision to seek public office. Sadly, it has been 2 years, and in that time, none of my requests were even entertained. The survey on this legislation that the committee recently put out wasn't even available in Spanish. I'm sorry. One of my current legislative assignments is small business and economic development. And one of my goals is to make sure we have a process by which we actively engage small businesses whenever there is legislation proposed that will affect them. This would prevent more situations like one I addressed just last year, where with the addition of 2 words to an existing town code, landscapers became commercial carters, subject to an additional permitting process and more fees. That was done without the input of a single landscaper. This legislation would result in landscapers getting hit with unanticipated costs at the start of the season for 2 years in a row. While the outlay of funds to pay for new permits and in relation to the current proposed legislation, purchase new equipment will initially hurt business owners, Those costs will ultimately be passed on to the consumer. Some of our residents will be able to afford that increase, but many will not. This proposed amendment to the town code on noise bans the current allowable use of 65 decibel gas-powered blowers from May 20th to September 20th, while 65 decibel battery-powered blowers will still be permitted between those dates. Battery-powered blowers will be permitted Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Also, while the legislation limits the number of gas-powered blowers to 2 on properties under a half an acre, there is no limitation on the number of battery-powered blowers that may be used. This means that residents can expect the same, if not greater, noise levels, and for the noise to persist longer, as battery-powered blowers are less powerful. In addition to the 65 decibel battery-powered blowers, there will also be a gas or diesel-powered generator running in a trailer out on the street to charge batteries. On emissions, gas-powered blower emissions are currently regulated by the EPA. I'm not going to state that they are clean, but many of the studies being cited predate EPA regulations. On the health and safety of workers, I personally know many workers and homeowners who have been using gas-powered blowers for many years and haven't suffered any ill health effects or hearing loss as a result. Hearing protection is like a seatbelt. When you choose to put it on, it works. I totally understand wanting a quieter environment, and I believe there is a way to achieve that without putting an undue burden on our officers or sending people to our justice court to be arraigned and go before a judge. It was stated at a work session that the town was behind on implementing this legislation. I'm okay with that because I have been following the legislation implemented in other towns, and it hasn't been very effective. I know how hard it is to speak up at public hearings, but I urge every one of you, both for and against, who took the time to be here this evening to speak. Even if what you want to say was already said by another, please say it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman McNamara. All right, so we're going to go to the public, and each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to make your comments known. We are only entertaining comments related to the second public hearing. This is the one that places seasonal restrictions on gas-powered leaf blowers. And the way to get heard is to click the raise hand icon. Charlie, who's sort of running the meeting, Charles Certain will bring you into the meeting when he sees that you've clicked that raise hand icon. So Charles, do we have anyone?
Dawn? Yes, we have a number of people. Dawn is first.
All right,
Dawn, who just changed his name quickly because he's our administrator at the North Fork Environmental Council.
Okay.
My name is Mark Hobner. Thanks very much for your time and attention tonight. I'm the VP of NFPC, North Fork Environmental Council in Mattituck, and chairman of the Town of Riverhead's Environmental Advisory Committee. Many thanks to Dieter and the entire Sustainability Committee for their longtime support. Riverhead is putting together their comprehensive plan right now, and 3 things about which our citizens are most concerned are farmland and open space preservation, reduced traffic, and natural resources environmental protection. Read any of the brochures and magazine articles about the Peconic bioregion, of which all of our 5 towns are a part, and we find the words pastoral, scenic, and bucolic. All of these are part and parcel of a quality of life for which we are nationally known. The high-pitched drone of a gas-powered leaf blower is piercing and intrusive, and when a gaggle of blowers drones on for hours on end in a neighborhood, concentration on work or simple enjoyment of a hot cup of tea on the patio becomes impossible. The air pollution that these 2-stroke gasoline machines create is equal to the fumes from a Ford F-150 pickup truck traveling from Southampton to Salt Lake City and back. Suffolk County has some of the most polluted air in the state of New York, and we are learning more every day about the severe health complications created by particulate matter, which is small enough to cross through the membranes of our lungs into our bloodstream. And not even so much for our residents, but the unprotected workers who we may very rarely see using the proper breathing masks while they're using these machines. We all know from our years of work with solar and wind energy production technologies that we are heading toward a future chock full of batteries. The race to build a better battery is raging around the globe right now. Just like the technologies which got us to the moon became mainstream, so will the improvements and design changes and material substitutions in the battery industry. As a good business person, I'm sure that I would be looking to do a better job at a lower cost for my customers, and electric machines require no fossil carbon fuels, very little maintenance, and pose no health hazards to their workers or their general population. I'd like to also possibly offer alternatives to blowing leaves into the street, like for covering garden beds and mulching against weeds and a lot more. As the general trend of concern for human health becomes greater and greater, especially over the last 2 years, we are in a position to lead the way in not just reducing the harms to everyone's health, but increasing our health and well-being overall. I urge you to say yes to the seasonal ban on gas-powered leaf blowers as a strong step in the right direction. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Minerva is next.
All right, Minerva Perez, we don't see you and you're muted.
My bad, there we go.
There
Hello.
you are.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Jay. Hi, members of the board. I want to, first of all, thank Cindy, Councilwoman McNamara, for letting me know about this hearing. I want to just immediately start off for the folks that are listening to know that as executive director of OLA of Eastern Long Island, a Latino-focused organization, the last thing I'm here to do is sort of put Latinos against the environment. The point that I want to make about this is that during the height of the pandemic, landscapers were considered essential workers. And we watched as so many members of our community, our workforce out here in the East End, many of them, at one point it was 75% Latino, were in Southampton Hospital suffering some of the worst effects of COVID. Young, strong workers, because they were essential workers and they were landscapers. We call upon people as we need them. And when we don't, we have to be careful what we do with them. We've got a very, if there's one area of work, one industry that is most heavily populated by Latino workers, it would be landscaping. What I want to look at is that I don't like gas-powered leaf blowers. I don't like the sound of them either. But what I also wouldn't do is say that my quiet enjoyment and my interest in securing the environment and taking care of our beautiful spaces doesn't come on the back of a worker who might, at their first infraction, be subjected to up to 15 days in jail. There's a criminal charge that is associated with this particular code. That doesn't have to be the case. If we were in a situation where we've already tried dialogue, we've already brought people to the table, we've already had conversations. This is the first conversation I'm having with Southampton Town in this capacity. Thank you again, Cindy. That if we were having problems getting these things enforced properly, or people weren't listening, then we look at things and we escalate as we need to. But right now, I have a comparison chart that our legal intern did for us at OLA. And right now, Southampton's penalties are the strongest of not only just the East End, but even up to Huntington in terms of the amount of money and the jail time. So the criminal possibilities here. I want to remind the people listening and the board that it's a very real history that we have where we have people so fearful of even a civil infraction of attending a court appearance, that lives are altered, changed, damaged as a result of something as simple as this. So as simple as a leaf blowing incident could be something that impedes someone's immigration process. If they have a criminal charge on their record, there are all kinds of things that kind of result in something that seems sort of innocuous. Yes, I'm all for the environment. None of us want to see this continued over use of lawn equipment and chemicals, and what we can't seem to understand that natural beauty is truly natural beauty, but then put the onus on the homeowner as well. There are other areas of Southampton Town Code that I've looked up, like Chapter 261, in terms of property maintenance, that put the onus also on the homeowner. I don't see that written into this provision or this law. I'd like to see that there's accountability across the board, and that we're not looking at the lowest common, the lowest hanging fruit here, the most vulnerable of that fruit, the same people that we called essential workers, and that we could possibly have them see jail time or be worried about a criminal charge, whether they are the owner of the company or simply the person working there. The other thing that frightens me is that the lack of communication around this, the lack of transparency. It's hard work. to reach out to the same members of the community that would be as affected by this kind of law, but you do the work. You do it in Spanish, you reach out, you make sure that you're prepared. And John Bouvier, I'm glad that you want to build in time for our code enforcement and Ryan to get the word out, but the track record of getting the word out isn't great. I don't have a lot of faith in getting the word out the way it's been happening. So we have to commit to these things and understand the lives that are at stake and still take care of the environment. And thank you all.
Katie is next.
All right, Katie Brown. We need to unmute you. Oh, you're
There
on
you
mute. All right. We don't see you, but that's okay.
All right, hold on. Hopefully you can see me now. Okay.
Yes, hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Brown, Southampton Town resident, member of the East End Contractors Association and small business owner. I'm against the gas leaf blower ban. I have a lot of concerns, but I can only get a few in the short amount of time. I contacted the town board and the sustainability committee to get more information about these environmental studies and haven't received any information back yet. I believe all the studies the town has based their information on is on equipment used more than 20 years ago. Since then, the EPA has created many restrictions, greatly decreasing the emissions on today's equipment. The landscaping industry today is actually carbon negative because the very trees and plants the industry is maintaining and planting are actually absorbing more carbon than the industry is creating. So I think it would be unfair to just put regulations on this industry and no other industry. Why aren't you starting with areas that create the greatest carbon emissions? For instance, electric, with solar and windmills, heating houses, making natural gas more available, and vehicles. If the town focuses more energy on the traffic patterns, therefore not idling in traffic for hours, that would not only greatly reduce the emissions, but also greatly increase the quality of life for everyone in the town. Also, I saw that on tonight's agenda is a purchase of 2 Ford F-350 trucks for the town. Are those the most fuel efficient vehicles you could find? Why doesn't the town use electric vehicles? Another issue is what happens to these batteries when they're disposed of? Are they recyclable? I've actually had a customer contact me about removing all of the trees on his property as it's getting too costly to maintain. He believes the town will eventually restrict him from being able to freely remove the trees later on. The proposed law is saying that at 7 a.m. you can use a bulldozer or an air compressor. Both are louder than blowers, but you have to wait until 8 a.m. to use a gas blower. Yes, electric blowers produce less noise, but since they're about half the efficiency, we'd either need twice as many of them or have them run for twice as long, which would lead to needing more employees and more vehicles. And we already know the labor shortage is on the rise. If the town also focused more on the workforce housing issue, then our industry could have more employees available in order to use this electric equipment. It's been estimated that it will cost the homeowner 40% more due to the increase in the equipment and in the labor, since it will take longer to complete the same job. How will people on a fixed income that are already struggling due to increased costs recently of everything now afford to live here? Everyone has the option to hire someone to use all electric equipment, and the fact that many people do not is proof enough that the technology is not there yet and not efficient enough yet, and the cost is just too great. Because the supply chain issues and contracts for this season have already gone out, even if people wanted to follow this law, it doesn't seem possible to get the equipment and do the work with it at the price already proposed. I would also like to request that the March 8th meeting at 1 p.m. be in person, since not everyone has access to Zoom. And having a Spanish-speaking translator available would be really helpful, since we are talking about a lot of people in this industry that are Spanish-speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. And Katie, that meeting in March is an in-person meeting.
Okay,
And it's a
great.
great suggestion on having somebody available to translate them. All right.
Awesome.
Ron is next.
I have a question for Christine before we go on. I've heard it, Christine. I've heard a number of times tonight this referred to as a gas blower ban, and this would be seasonal restrictions, right? Just to, for the public's edification. Reading it, of course, I've read the bill, but it's not a ban, because I know some of the villages have put forward bans on, like complete bans, and that's not what we're doing here. It would be seasonal restrictions, correct?
We are restricting use to not allow any use from May 20th through September 20th. Outside of that boxed frame are seasonal time restrictions.
Okay.
That kick in.
Thank you.
I'd just like to also point out that we're not restricting, the law applies to residents as well as contractors. There's making no exceptions for homeowners, property owners.
All right, so Ron Klausner is our next speaker. Ron, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Jay. First, I would like to express my thanks to Councilman Bouvier for bringing this proposed legislation to the town board. It is long overdue, and I overwhelmingly support the proposed ban on gas-powered leaf blowers in the town of Southampton. Leaf blowers, and as an aside, aircraft noise, have adversely affected my family's enjoyment of life out here in the East End. Leaf blowers clearly create unnecessary health risks to its operators, air pollution, and other damage to our climate. They also compromise the quality of life of everyone compelled to listen to the unnecessary ear-piercing noise. Legislation is long overdue in this town, as other neighboring jurisdictions, including the villages of Southampton, North Haven, and East Hampton, as well as the town of East Hampton, have already enacted bans on gas-powered leaf blowers. Gas-powered leaf blowers are not essential, as there are environmentally friendly alternatives readily available to accomplish the same results, including rakes, brooms, and electric and battery-powered leaf blowers. I am a full-time resident of the town of Southampton, and I would prefer the ban were year-round. However, I am satisfied that the legislation is a step in the right direction. Although we are not first to propose and enact a leaf blower ban, let's show the rest of our county and state that our town too cares about the environment and that we will work to mitigate climate change for our children and grandchildren. On a related note, I'm disturbed about our town's code of ethics. When I first heard one of our town council members, Cindy McNamara, speaking against the proposed leaf blower ban last meeting, I was surprised she had not recused herself from the discussion and upcoming vote on the legislation. Clearly, she and her family have an economic interest in this proposed legislation. Cindy has admitted on the record if this legislation passes, it will adversely affect her family business. Moreover, Cindy even went so far as to vote against having a public hearing on this issue, which was most surprising considering she ran her campaign on a pledge of open and transparent government. Our town's code of ethics merely requires a town official to disclose in writing to the relevant agency any financial conflict of interest. That disclosure will then become part of the official record of that agency. Our code does not require that official with a conflict of interest to recuse herself from further discussion or voting on the issue. This does not seem to me to be good government. I urge the town to enact as part of its code of ethics, the New York State Model Code of Ethics for Municipal Government. Sections 6 and 7 of that model code require recusal and abstention on any matter requiring the exercise of discretion when the municipal officer or employee knows or has reason to know that the action could confer a direct or indirect financial or material benefit on himself or herself, a relative, or any private organization in which he or she is deemed to have an interest. This would promote open and transparent as well as fair government. Again, I urge that this law be passed. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Klausner. All right, who's up next, Charles?
Joseph is next.
All right, Joseph Sorbonne, you have 3 minutes. We need to, yeah, you're unmuted. We just don't see you. So there you are.
Great. So I have been in the industry for 35 years. I own JLC Landscape Services based out of West Hampton Beach. I myself have taken the time to become NOFA certified, which is a certification that leans on organic and alternative environmental uses for products and and equipment as such. And in the experience of looking at this equipment for 5 years, there's not yet anything that comes close to replacing the type of equipment that we need to get our job done. So through the pandemic, we worked, we were busy, we needed, we were called on, like it's been said, and I don't know if the statistics or if anyone that's listening or putting these laws through have actually taken the equipment and have tried it. I've seen the town of Southampton in the East Quad Park go from using their electric equipment, their mowers, and then as soon as the leaves come down, they're back to gas. So there seems to be big conflict as far as, we want to get this, we want the noise quiet. We want people, we need to get the job done. But at the end of the day, the equipment is just not there. I've actually bought equipment. I've tested the equipment. It's actually in my shop and it blows the dust off, my shop floor. It's not a commercial grade product in any way, shape or form. I wish there was, because I would be using it. But again, there's places like in Texas and in California where there's sun more often, and then like the trails are converted with solar panels to charge the batteries, and there's an economical and a feasible way to use it instead of compressors, which we would in this industry, in this area, need to have compressors. So we would be running louder equipment to charge batteries, and then there's economic, there's no recycling program for all these lithium batteries if this was to go through. In my opinion, of this all, lean more towards, we're looking to enforce more and more, like the waste management permit last year. And for years, I have every license possible. I don't see code enforcement out doing home improvement licensing and checks more than 2 or 3 weeks in the year. So what I see is people work, contractors work their 9-to-5 job. Some of the guys then leave and start working on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday after 3 o'clock. I see county workers, I see town workers, and I see employees doing the same. That equipment is running louder, later, and that's where I think the interruption is with people that may be disgruntled about the noise. Anybody that's running a legitimate company does not have, is not working late. They're not paying over, ridiculous amount of overtime. One of the comments that I've heard is, take out a broom and a rake and a this and a that. I'd love to see that person or people try to do our job with a rake and see how much longer. We can't get more workers. We were able to get through a pandemic and still, be, in business. And now it's going to take us 5 times longer to get some of these jobs done. The clients cannot afford, even if they can afford, they're not going to want to afford. Every day negotiating a 5, 10, 15% increase from last year, from the pandemic, from the shortages, from the fuel increases. So we're getting hit in every which way. So I'm completely against this. If this was to get passed, it should match when the technology is brought to speed with the industry where it could be, a benefit for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe. Charles is next.
Tip Brolin is next.
All right, Tip Brolin, you'll need to, well, you're already unmuted, so just if we could see you, if possible. Tip, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Jay. Good evening, Supervisor and council persons. My name is Tip Brolin. I live in Watermill and have been a member of the town's Sustainability Advisory Committee since its inception in 2008. I'll make this brief. Gas-powered leaf blowers, and I'll follow Cindy's recommendation, are repetitive. Gas-powered leaf blowers are very noisy and very polluting. And based on my experience, people don't wear the hearing protection and they damage very much the long-term hearing of their users. Banning their use during the summer, and that's what I emphasize. We're not saying you need to use these electric leaf blowers or rakes or whatever during the time of peak leaf blowing. Banning their use during the summer, as the proposed legislation does, will greatly benefit our citizens and visitors. There are viable alternatives to use of gas-powered leaf blowers based on my discussion with landscapers who want to do this. For example, either electric leaf blowers or rakes. And I note the smile on some people's faces when I use the term rakes. When I was 12, I was using rake. There were no leaf blowers, either gas or electric. And guess what? The job got done. And the tests show it may take twice as long if you use a rake, not even an electric leaf blower. That'll make for more jobs, not fewer. Yes, it may increase the cost, or it may not. You don't have to buy the equipment. East Hampton and Southampton Village have successfully implemented essentially identical laws to that proposed here, which restrict gas-powered leaf blowers used to the non-summer months. Nationally, many other municipalities have either taken similar actions or banned gas-powered leaf blowers entirely. Southampton Town should take the same action as East Hampton and Southampton Village and others, and restrict gas-powered leaf blower use to the non-summer months. I applaud the town board members who voted to hold this public hearing and wholeheartedly support the proposed legislation. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Tip. Charles, who's next?
John is next.
John Luthart.
Yes, good evening all. Thank you for this hearing. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been
We hear you, but don't see you. So if that's okay.
Yes, that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Schneiderman. I've spoken to you at past seminars, pesticide seminars, and mentioned to you about some of the things that when you were a county legislator that would be more important, such as restricting pesticide use to certified applicators only and taking it out of the hands of the homeowner and restrict the sales to only certified applicators. But regarding this blower legislation, as I said, I've been a 40-year contractor. I try to do what's right. I'm all for the environment. Currently, I work in the other municipalities on the island here that have implemented these seasonal restrictions. I've invested over $10,000 in the green technology. It does take longer. Some of my clients have expressed the increased costs that have resulted in the use of this equipment. There is a shortage of employees out there, so that the job takes longer, puts a burden on myself to get my work done. As far as the environment, I do have a generator running all day to charge these batteries. The batteries are being disposed of because they're not reusable. So my concern is when everybody's making these comments about what's good for the environment, really look at the carbon footprint of the manufacturing of these batteries, the disposal of these batteries, the increased use of the equipment. Part of the legislation talks about restricting how many blowers can be used in the fall when the leaf jobs are the most in demand. So it's just, we're going to be out there longer. So restricting how many blowers, I don't think makes any sense whatsoever. I appreciate everybody's concern, but what I really would like to know is how many homeowners have signed a petition for this ban. I would love to see the numbers and how many homeowners in the town of Southampton have said, hey, we want no more use of the gas-powered blowers. And if we have to use them, only restrict them to a certain part of the year. I would love to see the numbers on that. Is it just the few people that call up? And is this just legislation that everyone can jump on the bandwagon and sign into and say, hey, this is what we did? Or is there really science behind this? Is there really a calculation of what is best for us to continue to provide our service? What is best for the environment? What is best for the homeowners in the town? So I would love to see more study put into it. And transitioning this law, if it eventually does pass, and giving us a year to invest more money into this equipment, I think would be the best case scenario for everybody. I don't think this law or legislation is racially motivated. I don't think this pertains to any one nationality. So I don't agree with any of that. I understand everyone has a job to do, but I would love to see the numbers, like I said, that went into this legislation being put into, being put up for vote. So thank you for your time. Thank you for all of your hard work that everybody does. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
So just clarification, John, so in its current form, you're opposed to the legislation, correct?
I'm not opposed 100%. I would just like to see some modification to it. I would like to see a better study put into it before it's enacted.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
I've
just to-
gone to other hearings and I've seen, you know, what turns out after these hearings, and usually all our comments go on deaf ears, but I would just like to see more science, more input put into it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, John, I'd just like to respond to you. We've done quite a bit of work on that, and we do, the response that we're getting, largely this is driven by constituents who have approached myself as well as the Sustainability Committee with those complaints regarding noise, health, gas emissions, and so forth. But we also, on our website, we're collecting data right now that people can fill out to give us, you know, it's a better idea. We did an earlier survey about 2 years ago. It was quite in favor of coming from homeowners in particular who felt that they were being they were suffering from some of the practices. That's one of the reasons why we initially wanted to we compromised a lot on this law to make sure that the time was, you know, time of use of leaf blowers was restricted to the fall and winter months where leaf blowing was necessary given some of the concerns about the power and so forth. But that data is available when it's compiled. The survey is still open, but we'll make that available. But you know, if it most likely will follow the earlier survey where most of the complaints come from the constituents, and I would think some of the customers who, you know, would want to make those adjustments. So that's what we tried to do, both in time and in the seasonal restriction. So yeah, happy to reach out to my office, and when we get that, we can make sure that that's published.
Thank you.
Charles, who is next? And a lot of the people who have spoken already, they seem to remain on the screen.
I'll take care of that.
Okay, who's next?
Huntington Com is next.
All right, Huntington Com, you're gonna have to give us a name. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bonnie Sager, and I'm one of the co-founders of Huntington Com, which stands for Clean Alternative Landscaping Methods. We've worked with...
Can you spell Sager for me?
Yes, S-A-G-E-R.
Okay, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, we've worked with municipalities and villages throughout the United States and here on Long Island. We work with Supervisor Judy Bosworth in North Hempstead, which was the first municipality to get gas leaf blower restrictions for summer months. We've worked with many towns in Westchester. Just last week, we spoke at the village of Garden City, who passed restrictions, summer bans on gas-powered leaf blowers. Just to address some of the comments given, first of all, you don't use an inverter or a compressor to charge your batteries. You use an inverter. No need for compressors and generators. There are commercial grade equipment today that's battery friendly, Husqvarna, Ego, Stihl, all put out commercial grade equipment. If you're using something for a weekend warrior from Home Depot, it's not going to serve your commercial needs. So there is commercial grade today that's doing the job. And just to bring you up to date, Washington, D.C., as of January 1st of this year, has banned the use of gas leaf blowers all year round, as well as the sale of them. California just passed legislation saying that by 2024, the sale of gas leaf blowers will be banned in the state of California. There are other states that are now introducing similar legislation. New York State has 3 bills in the legislature waiting to be passed about going to battery equipment. The one that looks like it will be passed first is going to provide rebates for landscapers up to $15,000 to convert to battery equipment. So that's just a little background. A few weeks ago, I was asked to speak at the White House Environmental Justice Committee, and I'm going to read to you what I spoke to them about. Two-stroke engines have been phased out of nearly all industries with the exception of lawn equipment. This is an area which we'd like to see you begin tackling to help address the environmental crisis. Many developing nations are eliminating the use of two-stroke engines due to the copious amounts of pollution they produce. Air pollution is the #1 environmental cause of death, as stated by the World Health Organization. Up to 30% of the gasoline used in these highly fuel inefficient pieces of equipment is released into the atmosphere. A gas leaf blower operating for just 30 minutes puts out as much emissions as a pickup truck traveling 3,900 miles. Emissions are dirtier than high-performance pickup trucks, and Edmunds has done a study on this, which we were happy to provide to you. It is estimated that every time a gas leaf blower is filled by a landscaper, 2 ounces of gasoline is spilled, polluting the air and our groundwater. There are evaporative emissions from thousands of gas cans used to refuel two-stroke engines. The EPA reports that Americans spill more than 17 million gallons of fuel per year refilling their gas garden equipment. That's more than the 1989 Exxon Valdez oil spill and the equivalent of 87 million tons of smog produced per
30 seconds.
Okay. By replacing two-stroke engine gas guzzling leaf blowers and string trimmers with cleaner and quieter electric and battery powered equivalents, an example can be set for our global environmental accountability. The study by Edmunds found that two-stroke engine gas leaf blowers emitted 23 times the amount of carbon monoxide and nearly 300 times the amount of non-methane hydrocarbons as a pickup truck. By making this one minor adjustment, we could help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, dependence on fossil fuel, and reduce many public health problems, including asthma, cardiovascular disease, central nervous system disorders, COPD. Time? Wow, that went
just on the supervisor.
Okay, be happy to send you any of the scientific and studies and the legislation that's been passed recently.
Well, yeah, Bonnie, well, the record's going to be open because we do have another public hearing in March. So if you want to send us your comments, we're happy to take a look at whatever you send, or you can continue at the next public hearing, whatever you didn't get to finish at this public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. We will move on.
Christopher is next. Christopher.
Christopher.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Impiglia?
Impelia, the G silent.
Okay, Impelia.
Yes. So thank you, everyone, for having this hearing and allowing us to talk. And I thank you for addressing this particular issue. I am on Mitchell Lane in Bridgehampton. My family and I are 100% in favor of these restrictions and think indeed that you could even take this further. And I thank the previous speaker at Huntington Com for helping explain why. I've been in touch, my family and I have been in touch with Mr. Bouvier in the past about this, sending him some letters, writing to the local papers. It seems like for the most part, we are arguing about a object or device that is obsolete. Not only are there better alternatives, and the science is very clear there, they're also rarely being used to blow leaves. So in the summer in particular, we see the blowers 2, 3, 4, sometimes at a time, who are simply finishing after they mow the lawns. They are blowing grass and little particles in the air, or are blowing them into our property, into other neighbors' properties, into any adjacent properties. So it ends up being basically a ping pong of this debris. They're also being used often after those restricted hours. So there have been times when it was 7 to 7, we're being woken up at 6:30, we're being eating dinner, and it's 7:30, and the leaf blowers are still going on. They're droning from Butter Lane. We can hear it across the fields. So there are tons of concerns here. We are afraid of often complaining for the reasons why Minerva brought up earlier. So I thank her for bringing that up. We don't want to get people in trouble, but it seems like when we call the landscapers' offices, we are usually ignored. So there are tons of concerns here. There is also the smell of gas that we are breathing. There is the air pollution besides the noise pollution. There are proven studies that it is above the decimal level that is safe. And I have videotaped the sound and sent it, I think, to Mr. Bouvier in the past so he could hear how we are suffering. It's hurting the workers. They're carrying around these heavy loads besides their ears. besides the air they're breathing and we're breathing. It's hurting the animals, the nightlife, it's hurting everything. And also I think these other bans that have been taking place in other areas, like in East Hampton and Southampton, that's exactly going in the right direction. I think there is just such evidence in favor of banning these gas-powered objects altogether. We shouldn't even be talking at restrictions at this time. Again, they are obsolete. They're not even being used for the purpose they're supposedly being used for. And there's absolutely no reason why even those of us who do work during the summer, some of us do work. It's not just vacation people. I very much work during the summer. And it's very hard to work when there are 2, 3, 4 from various properties, leaf blowing, absolutely droning. It's impossible to take naps. It's impossible to work. And it's a mental health issue as much as it is a physical health issue. And for this, I just think you should do everything you can to ban this, help the climate, and help all of the constituents who are suffering. Those of us in Bridgehampton especially, I know I've spoken to other neighbors, it's a huge issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Christopher. Charles?
Mackie Finnerty is next.
All right, Mackie Finnerty. We'll have to unmute you, Mackie.
Okay.
There you are. And are we going to see you or no?
Yes,
We can't see you yet, so.
we're hitting the,
Okay,
okay, thanks.
Okay, hi, Walter.
Hi, how are you? Good evening. Thanks for having this hearing. This hearing is about one thing and one thing only, and that's the environment. And I know that this board has taken many vows to do everything they can to clean up the environment in Southampton, and they've done a lot of great projects that are in the works. This is not one you can turn down. This is not one you can say, we don't all agree on this. We all need to agree. No, we don't all agree on anything. This is democracy. We need a majority. That's what we need. And there's no question that the majority of the citizens want this done. You're not a jury, and so everybody doesn't have to agree on this. Almost every single thing that you ever do in any government will help somebody and will hurt somebody. There's no question that this legislation will help everybody. Will some people get hurt? They say that they will get hurt economically if they can't use polluting environmental thing, non-environmental things like leaf blowers. It reminded me yesterday is Lincoln's birthday, and if any of you watched any of the programs about real leadership, when people don't agree on things, we would still have slavery if we're waiting for all this agreement and for everybody's economy to work out for them. Sometimes somebody's economy does get hurt because they're hurting others, and we don't want to have that happen in Southampton town. People talk about the costs of leaf blowers. Southampton Village has had it in for years, and the same people who come and blow the leaves or grass or whatever they're blowing in Southampton Village go around to all the other surrounding areas that aren't in the village. And you can look at any landscaper, and on the back of their trucks, you will see both the gas and the electric. And they will always say, oh, we're really using the electric. So I don't think there's going to be a big cost change. 3 years ago, they were saying, well, it's really the way to go, the landscapers were saying, but it's not ready yet. Well, now we're 3 years later, there've been a lot of improvements. A lot of people know that it can do the job. We know it can do the job, and it will pollute less and certainly make for a quiet environment for all of us. The health of the workers, that should be one of the top considerations for all of us. In the village hearings, they had two scientist professors testified, and they talked about what it did to the health of the workers who are wearing these things on their back and the tremendous pollution they're taking in, and that there was this disease that has developed with a constant huge vibration on their backs that were causing like a brittle bone thing where their bones were cracking up. And of course, that gets very little publicity. When we talk about who should the violation be against, and they say not against the Hispanic worker, I agree with that completely. They go out in the morning, they're told where to go. They don't buy that equipment. They don't make the decision. And yet, if a policeman comes around, who's he going to give it to? He's going to give it to the person with the leaf blower. It should not go to that person. It should go to the owner of that company who bought that equipment, made him use it. So I think we have to be careful about that because I've observed it a lot on our street and how that works. And the owners, of course, are nowhere around the lawns doing this work. So make sure that that's the way the legislation comes out. And I do think that Councilman McNamara should recuse herself. It's very clear in all government things that you can't be voting on legislation that affects all of the taxpayers and their health when you're against it because it hurts you economically. I mean, that's the very essence of recusal. That's what it's all about. That's what the law is about. You can't be wearing both those hats simultaneously. And that is unfortunate for a lot of our elected officials who put themselves out there. But when everybody all the way up to the Supreme Court, if you have a personal interest in it, you're going to have a personal gain. You can't be voting on it. So I hope that she will step down and continue to work on good things that she cares about for the town. Thank you. That's the end.
All right, thank you, Mackie. Charles, who's next?
Sandra Dunn is next.
I see Dieter's had his hand up for a while.
Yeah.
Can we take him next?
We can.
All right, Sandra?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Dunn. I'm here tonight speaking as a Hampton Bays resident, so your constituent, as well as Associate Director of OLA of Eastern Long Island. And for people in the public who might not know, I know town board members know, OLA is OLA, and it stands for Organización Latinoamericana. We are a Latino-focused advocacy organization, as Minerva Perez said earlier. So I wish I could wholeheartedly support this law. The environmentalist in me really wants to, but I can't. And it's not so much the provisions in the law or in the amendment, I should say, that you're proposing as much as it is the penalties that are on the books that you are not proposing to change, or at least not yet. So the penalties as they read now are for a first offense of noise violation, including this by gas blowers. A first offense could incur a fine of up to $1,000 and up to 15 days in jail. A second offense, as it reads now, and these penalties were last amended according to Town Code in 2002, a second offense for a noise violation is a fine of at least $2,500, no more than $10,000, and or up to 15 days in jail. So my concern here is primarily with that. I would urge you to not go forward with this legislation unless you first of all, carefully consider all of the points that people have raised tonight, but especially consider these penalties that are on the books that have not been amended since 2002. As we know, this will disproportionately affect Latino landscape workers, including undocumented landscape workers. And jail time for an undocumented person is a very different thing and carries different risks in relation to deportation, et cetera, than jail time for someone who is documented or somebody who was born here. So I have a number of questions that I would like to pose to the town board as considerations for you to think about between now and the next hearing as you consider hopefully further amending the legislation as well as the penalties. I'd like to know what the town will do to ensure that landscapers, including Spanish-speaking landscapers, are informed about this law. It won't be enough to put it on your website, and Ola, we can help get the message out, but that's not on us. We want to get the message out to protect workers, to make sure that workers are informed, but the real outreach needs to be done by the town. I'd also like to know what where's the accountability? So how will you ensure that it's the owners of companies, and better yet, homeowners, who are held accountable and incur the fines or the possible jail time, rather than the person out on the front lawn or the backyard holding the gas blower? I would also like to ask in a more general way, what will the town do to ensure that nobody goes to jail for using a gas leaf blower? And I know you might think, well, it's up to the judge's discretion, et cetera. But if that's the case, that, this is an incredibly harsh penalty. And even the fines are steep for, somebody who is out there working on his own, trying to make a living, trying to pay the rent, trying to buy food for his family, or her family. Landscapers are increasingly women in our Latino community. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope you will consider these questions I've just posed. Thank you.
All right, Sandra. Thank you. All right, Dieter von Liesten is next.
Oh, you have trained my name in secretly, Jay.
Getting better.
Okay, my name is Dieter von Liesten. I'm a resident of Southampton and a co-chair of the Southampton Sustainability Committee. We are proposing today a seasonal restriction of the use of gas leaf blowers at a time of the year when leaves are virtually non-existent, between May 20 and September 20. Here are the main reasons for those restrictions. One, noise, which is above permitted decibel limits. Our quality of life is greatly reduced with the constant irritating noise of these units. Besides the noise, gas fumes from two-stroke diesel engines produce high amounts of CO2 emission and carcinogens and are an imminent danger to the health of the working crews. 3, pollution. Beyond the fumes and emissions, gas leaf blowers also produce thousands of pounds of solid toxic waste and plastic waste in the form of contaminated air and fuel filters, spark plugs, gaskets, and plastic two-cycle oil containers that are sent to landfills. Southampton, with the proposed law, is joining East Hampton, Southampton Village, West Hampton, and North Haven with an identical law which landscapers are already long used to. Such restrictions are already applicable in well over 100 communities, inclusive coastal communities like Southampton, namely Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Oregon, or California. What we are proposing to you, the town board, today is nothing new or innovative. We, the Sustainability Committee, started the process in 2016, participating in the designation of East Quark as the first green zone on the east coast of the United States. This was followed in 2016 with the designation of Southampton Town Hall by the American Green Zone Alliance as a quiet community, and in 2018 as a green zone for Southampton Town in conjunction with the demonstration to landscapers of electrical equipment. In 2019, the Sustainability Committee organized an all-day workshop for landscapers with field demonstrations of the latest electrical equipment available at that time. All this happened under the leadership of then Councilwoman Christine Scalera. I went into these details to demonstrate that what is on the table now, a law to restrict the gas leaf blowers for a few months operation from May to September, has been a long time coming, giving the landscapers ample time to get prepared. It is therefore time to join our neighbors. I urge you, the town council, to please adopt this new law. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dieter. Charles, who's next?
Ian is next.
Ian McCauley. You'll need to unmute, Ian. You're still muted. All right, we see you, but you're still muted. Still muted, Ian.
Mute. There we are.
All right, now we can hear you.
How are you? Can you hear me?
We can hear you and see you.
I'm a landscaper. I own Bayfield Landscaping. And I know that the use of these electric blowers seems like a great idea, but the power, the time, and just the ability of these machines are not near the capacity of the 2-cycle gas blower. I know everybody would like to see, oh, just rake it up. Then there's a time issue and a cost to the clients. And, you know, it will just be passed on. We're all worried about higher taxes and higher prices now. I mean, you know, inflation's up. This will wind up being hurtful for my clients, and I'm sure a lot of other landscaping clients. I would like to say no on voting for this ban on blowers. It's not just a leaf blower, it's a grass blower. It blows the dirt off your patio, your driveway. You know, instead of us taking the grass clippings from your property, now we typically, most of the blowing is done to spread them out so they are reintroduced back into the soil as opposed to adding more fertilizer. So I'd like to vote no, have you all vote no on this proposal. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ian.
I don't even know what I just.
All right, so Charles, who's next? Charles? I'm going to assume
Miss Mason is next.
I have an Evan Mason.
That's a miss. I was named after my Aunt Evangeline. So Evan. I'm a miss. How are you?
What's your first name?
Evan, E-V-A-N, really.
Okay.
I was 40 before I figured out it was a boy's name. Anyway, I'm a resident of Sagaponack, and I'm pleased to be able to weigh in a little bit and to hear everybody else's arguments or thoughts on the topic, and I appreciated being educated in the process. I'm an urban planner by profession. I'm on the board of the League of Conservation Voters, and I have written internationally published articles on the environmental benefits of trees and permeable spaces. And I'm passionate about the environment. I support this legislation. I think it's a small step because I feel as a homeowner in Sagaponack that the leaf blowers are being used because the guys on the ground are being told to use them. I have to fight like heck as a homeowner to leave the grass clippings on the ground so I don't have to apply more chemicals to the grass. I compost. I'm very well versed in sort of the environmental maintenance of your property. And I just feel like the gas leaf blowers are being used unnecessarily. I'm old enough to remember raking myself. I think the grass clippings should be left on the ground. And I just feel that this is a good step that we should all be taking. With regard to education in Spanish, I agree. We need education in Spanish. We also need education in English because many people are just not aware of all the environmental implications. And so I support that effort wholeheartedly. I also think that sort of necessity is the mother of invention. I appreciated one of the previous speakers really informed knowledge about generators or not generators, some of which I didn't know. And I think if all the towns become consistent, we will find better ways to deal with blowing dirt around than gas leaf blowers. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I really appreciate all the hard work that's going into putting on these public hearings and getting people involved and educated. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
David is next.
All right, David Seeley. You need to unmute, David.
All
right.
Everything good now? Hi, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon, late, whatever it is.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm tired. It's been a long day. First off, I'll say that Cindy McNamara is exactly where we want her as a proponent for small business. She should not have to recuse herself. She is stating her opinion and has stated her opinion in multiple forms. So anybody who thinks that she should recuse herself is just angry for some reason. There is really no reason why she shouldn't be able to voice her opinion about her small business, her family, and how she feeds them. Number one. Number two, the green argument is only somewhat legitimate because, unfortunately, batteries don't come from pixie dust or green trees. They come from machinery that does this. This is the machinery that excavates them out of the earth. Thousands and thousands of gallons of fuel every day, excavating the material that then gets loaded onto trucks, shipped to factories, then gets made into batteries and gets shipped again to our local supply houses or whatever at a cost of $250, $300 a battery, which is problematic because they don't last very long. They also don't have enough amp hours to run the machines long enough to do any real landscaping, in fact. I run batteries for my tools, for what I do, and they're only marginally effective. I have to use electric tools to do what I do for the most part, but batteries are a backup. I'm not stating for a minute that I'm opposed to the law in its entirety, but I'm opposed to parts of it. A complete ban, nothing should be banned by government. That's the first problem. We have government for a good reason. We're not here to ban things. We should be making legitimate and fruitful arguments instead of saying, oh, we don't want this because people are offended by the noise. I spent the entire day yesterday listening to my neighbor's yard getting its leaves removed, and I have the video to prove it. But here's the interesting part. While they weren't using, here's my neighbor's yard getting done. While they weren't using the backpacks, they were using a leaf mulcher. So what if I'm not dealing with a backpack, I'm doing the leaf mulcher. This is all day yesterday. And that's a big motor on that leaf mulcher. Number one. Number two, the leaf blowers themselves are not powerful enough to do what that pile. I mean, if you look at the pile that my neighbor's getting taken away, it's a tremendous pile. Do you think a battery operated thing can do that? No, they cannot. So with respect to that, I get the ban in the time frame in which it's happening. I also don't think it's a problem so much in that time frame. I would like to see it a little bit better represented. There's rules against homeowners using them. I'm sorry, I can't afford thousands and thousands of dollars worth of batteries to do my lawn. Because you're talking $240 to $500 a battery for the units you're talking about. They're not cheap, and they only last a certain amount of time. I just think this needs to be better thought out, and we need to have some more conversation about the actual legitimacy of electric or battery operated units. They're not there yet. As an electrician and someone who installs the Tesla battery walls, I had a conversation just recently with a client who wanted me to run his house on Tesla battery walls. We did the calculations. His house can run on Tesla battery wall for 3 minutes, literally 3 minutes. And we're all looking at this green, but we forget that this stuff has to come out of the ground. We forget that these units, these big, huge excavation things, burn tons and tons of fuel to get them out. There's just not enough there's not enough talk about how the batteries get to us. There's not enough talk about how the batteries are constructed, how they're manufactured, all the costs that go into that before they even get to us. That's the problem with the conversation in green right now, talking about solar, talking about battery walls, talking about battery operated units. Battery is not the panacea that you all want to make it out to be. It's really not. You got to rethink this battery thing for now until we get some better education, until we get some better technology, until we have some more research and development. Right now, battery does not do the job that everybody thinks it does. And that's all I have to say. Appreciate your time. Right. I'm all finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. All right, Bob, Marina is next. All right, Marina DeLuca.
Yeah. Okay. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, Supervisor Snyder and members of the town board. My name is Marina DeLuca, and I'm an environmental associate with Group for the East End. For the record, Group for the East End was founded in 1972 and represents the conservation and community planning interests of several thousand member households across the East End of Long Island. Since our inception, a majority of our organization's membership has been from Southampton town residents and property owners. We're thankful that the town of Southampton, like many other municipalities, has taken the time to focus on this issue and consider legislation to help reduce the numerous detrimental effects associated with the use of gasoline-powered landscaping equipment. So on a personal note, I grew up on the East End, and I have, for most of my life, experienced this area as a serene, peaceful, quiet oasis away from the typical noise of more urbanized areas. In 2016, I left for college, and by the time I returned, the changes that this area has experienced have left it almost unrecognizable. And one of the biggest differences is the noise. When I was a kid, I used to spend hours reading on my front porch. I would spend days at the beach listening to the waves. I would have family gatherings out on our back patio. And in high school, I would sit outside on a nice day and talk to my friends on the phone. But now, on the nicest days of the year, I'm sitting somewhere inside or trying to get out of my house to go anywhere that is not near the noise. Our family gatherings on the deck are inundated by fumes. We're left shouting over the noise. A morning at the beach is cut short by an explosive symphony of machines. I used to listen to music for pleasure, but now it's just become something that I take with me to try and drown out the constant assault of power tools. And honestly, we've talked about work. I can forget about trying to take work calls. I've finished my college semester from home due to COVID, and I was left doing classes, taking phone calls in a closet in my basement because that is the only place it was quiet enough to be able to even hear myself think. And the thing is, it's not just me. Group for the East End staff have received numerous calls and emails from individuals across the East End who are concerned about this issue, and the numbers continue to rise every single year. Whether they feel like they're going to lose their mind because of the unending noise or they're concerned about how polluting the machinery is, they're looking for somebody to do something. This legislation is a reasonable, common sense first step towards improving our quality of life, reducing pollution, and reducing our use of fossil fuels. We agree with some of the points that were made about who is going to face the cost of this. So spreading out accountability to the homeowners as well as the owners of these businesses, I think is an important step to take. I don't think that anybody wants somebody just trying to provide for their family to be taken off to jail for this, but I do think that we need to have some level of accountability, but it should be spread out between different members of the people involved. And there were some other facts that I also wanted to take the time to clarify a little bit. The discussion about lithium batteries. Lithium batteries are still newer technology, and there are still advancements that need to be made in terms of how we can recycle them, how we can reuse them, and all of these things. But we're also comparing that against what we know to be bad about fossil fuels. So in order to get fossil fuels, you need to extract fossil fuels out of the ground as well. You need
30 seconds
to acquire them from somewhere. So all of these things, it's kind of a give and take. And yeah, some of the electric equipment, we are still in the process of making it the best it can be. However, the Group for the East End, along with myself personally, have hired a landscaping company that uses fully electric equipment. And I'm not a landscaper, so I can't claim to know if it's perfectly beneficial, but they don't have a generator running to recharge it. They recharge at home using solar power. It takes roughly the same amount of time. And the electric powered leaf blowers actually create a bit less noise than the gasoline powered ones. So I think that this is a change that we need to continue to push forward in, and we need to continue to make laws or adopt laws like this.
Thank you, Marina.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, you're out of time. It's just that I have to keep moving here. We have just a lot of people want to be heard at this in the next hearing. So thank you. If you have any comments you didn't get to make, you can present them at the next hearing, because this is going to be continued into March, or you can submit them in writing. Jonathan Haynes, please. Please unmute yourself. Still muted.
There we go, I think.
Yep, we can hear you.
I'll be brief because the things I wanted to say have mostly been said by other people, but I guess leaf blowers are the work of the devil, and I strongly support this measure to limit their use. I have two reservations about it. One is the limited period the restriction, which is unseemly because it suggests that what the law or the regulation is meaning to protect is the sensibilities of the privileged people who come here for the season, as opposed to the environment or those of us who live here all year round. I'm a resident of Hampton Bays, by the way. The other reservation I have, which is really what's motivating me for this intervention, is just the penalties as they exist really are draconian, and there's an enormous risk, I think, that they will end up victimizing people who have enough problems and are absolutely necessary for the community to get by, the kind of work they do. So it is essential that the penalties be levied against the contractors who hired them and or the homeowner. That's an elegant solution. Anybody who hires a contractor then becomes in charge of making sure that they're using the right kind of equipment. So, it's a recipe for abuse to have this most vulnerable part of our population be constantly at risk of these penalties, which would be a real disaster for them. That's all.
All right, thank you, sir. Steve Jeffrey?
Can you guys hear me?
We can't see you,
Uh,
but we can hear you.
can you see me? Okay. All right.
I can see you and hear you.
Hi, I'm Steve, Southampton town resident, small business owner, volunteer firefighter, and part of the East End Contractors Association. Really, I'm going to try to keep this as short as I can. I know, we have a lot going on. I'd just like to point out a few things. And we would like to get, and I know you guys saw the study, so we could fully understand everything that you're saying. I think it would help. I would also like to convey that the surveys don't really convey that it's going to cost the homeowner more money. And I think that, I would like to be as green as possible too, but I still have a budget, and I feel like that's important to say that,
I'm having some issues hearing you. Steve, I don't know if it's me.
Not you, Jay. We're hearing it too. Can you hear me?
Anybody else having trouble hearing?
Kind of going in and
Yes.
out. Steve, we're having a lot of trouble hearing you.
So Steve,
Okay.
maybe turn off your video and see if that helps. Just go vocal.
We don't want to see you now.
Now?
Yeah, try it.
Yeah, I'll start his time over because I didn't hear a word that he said. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so we'd like all the information we can get about these studies. The surveys, I don't think are accurate description that it's going to cost the homeowner more. I think that, maybe people wouldn't like the idea of banning it if they knew it was going to cost them more. I reached out to Ryan Murphy, head of code enforcement and public safety, to see about the plan for the new law. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, but there are a lot of enforcement and public safety issues. One, I'd just like to know how would you make a complaint? Would it be through 911? Would that would the increase in complaints hurt the response time to real emergencies? How long would it take for code enforcement to get there? If they wouldn't be able to get there rather quickly, it would kind of be pointless. I know that all the other villages and towns that have enacted these laws really haven't enforced them at all. I mean, I see you could drive in Southampton Village in 5 minutes and see someone using a gas-powered leaf blower. It's not like they're not the odd person out. They're the majority still. I mean, there are a few people that use the battery blowers, but the majority is still gas-powered leaf blowers. Let's see. So I asked Ryan, will there be more enforcement personnel hired. And I really think that it's not fair to have a rule that's not really well enforced, because it only hurts the people that follow it. And that's not really fair, because their costs are more and they're competing with people. We've already lost the contract in the Quag Village that we had to raise our prices. And I'm sure the people that are going to do it now with the new blowers that we had to buy are probably not going to use them. They're probably going to use the older stuff. So it's just not fair if it's not well enforced. So I just ask that if you do come up with a law, that it actually is enforced. I mean, that's really important to us. There were a bunch of public safety concerns we had. As a firefighter, I'm more aware of these things, I guess. Possibly electrocution from, you're wearing an 86 volt battery on your back, and it could be a little wet or raining, and that I could see you could possibly get electrocuted. Lithium batteries have been known to cause fires. I mean, they're going to be moving around in a trailer, through regular use. They get banged around, a cell can get damaged, and then later cause a fire. And, they've been proven to explode and go on fire. That's why they're not allowed in the cargo area of a plane. They can get damaged and not go on fire until later that night or the next day. The location of the equipment or the trailers that would have to be, plugged in to charge, so if that went on fire, then they could burn their whole house down or a building or whatever. Let me see. I've, as a firefighter, I've seen firsthand, the mixture of electric and gas or, fumes is not good. We responded to a call, and there was, by the time we get there, the whole truck was burned to the ground because there was
30 seconds.
Spark and, ignited the fuel. And many contractors are going to have to charge these batteries with gas or diesel powered generators, which is it's just not there. I mean, maybe we should wait for the code to make the decision. If it's not going to be enforced until September, maybe we should, work together and have the highway department have these battery blowers so we can all see them and get to know if they really are better before we come up with that decision.
All right. Thank you, Steve. You're out of time.
Thank you.
All right. All right,
Vanessa's next.
Vanessa Marinov.
Yes, Vanessa Marinov.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can see or hear me.
We can see and hear you.
Okay, great. I'd like to start by saying that I'm very grateful that Mrs. McNamara has not stepped down, because she seems to be the only person who is informed with firsthand knowledge on what we're speaking about today. I run a landscaping company that's been in existence for over 20 years in Watermill, and I'm a resident of Southampton Village year round. There was no effort made to let us know that this law was being discussed. It was actually buried at the end of an article on 27 East about contracting laws, where there was a discussion of starting a committee for people with firsthand knowledge to discuss this. I reached out to a number of you and only actually heard back from Mrs. McNamara, who informed me about tonight's meeting and provided me with the link. So I'd like to start there. When the village seasonal ban was enacted, there was a promise made that enforcement would come along with that, and that companies would be required to be licensed and insured. As a company that is licensed and insured, I can promise you that is not the case. In expanding the laws to a point where you're going to have the town instead of just the village, when you can't even enforce people be licensed and insured in the first place, seems like we're diluting the problem, and instead of actually following the laws that are already in place. In our experience, we have purchased the commercial blowers. The batteries last no more than one season. They are powered by gas generators when we use them in the village that run in the street. It takes us 3 times as long, which results in fall and spring cleanups costing our clients 3 times as much, as well as the cleanup costs of trimming the hedges, resulting in 3 times increases. Since this is up for debate and possibly being enacted this year, although I understand it wouldn't fully be enforced until 2022, We were forced to send out our 50 contracts with a note that said that if this passes, there will be a 300% increase on those line items. All of our clients have voiced that they are in opposition of this. And I would encourage you guys to have a platform where people who aren't inclined to write letters and or speak could sign a petition in opposition of this. I also would like to speak to the penalties because I think that the discretion that is surrounding them is absurd. In our experience as a fully licensed and insured company, we are the only ones who are being held to the standards of the law in the town, as a multitude of officers have told us that enforcing the licensing and insurancing fees on people, the tickets just get thrown out. So they're only really fining the companies that are following the rules. So I think it would be in the best interest of the town to further implement the laws that are in place before expanding them. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Vanessa. All right, we're going to move on to
Luke is next.
Luke Saluski. You'll need to unmute, Luke.
I don't know if you can see me.
Can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay.
What's that?
He can't see you, but he can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to state that I don't completely oppose this as a seasonal ban, but I just know that this is one step towards making a permanent ban. As far as the electric blowers go, they definitely don't cut it. They do the job in season if we're blowing some grass clippings or something, but they're not up to par to actually do a fall cleanup or a spring cleanup. And I'm sure you all know, out here in the Hamptons, we are at a high standard for landscape to be pristine at all times. I received numerous complaints all season about the cleanup not being to perfection. And I had to explain to the clients, we just don't have the time. There's not enough manpower, and it takes 3 times as long to clean with a rake as it does with a blower. Although, yes, the raking is more environmental friendly than a blower, the time is just not available. I do understand where you guys are going with this. I just think that further thought needs to go into everything before all these laws are put into place. And I've owned a business here in Southampton for over 20 years. I'm also a Southampton town resident. So I do understand. I see the excessive use of blowers, and for some, it is excessive. For others that realize what it takes to do the job, it's honestly just somebody doing their job. And that's, I guess that's all I got to say. And thank you for hearing me.
All right, thank you, Luke.
Okay.
That is the
Bye-bye.
end. No more hands.
All right. I guess I'll just ask once if there's anyone who has not spoken at this public hearing on seasonal restrictions for gas-powered leaf blowers who wish to be heard. We are going to have a second hearing on this, and it is getting late, and we have a lot of people waiting for the next 2 public hearings. So, but Charles, is there anybody else indicating they want to be heard?
I do have a person, Doug Jackson, but you keep declining to come in. So you have to not decline. There you go. Okay, Doug Jackson. Doug Action Jackson.
Doug Action Jackson. I still have you muted, Doug.
Hold on, I'm trying my best.
Oh, there you go.
How about now?
Can hear you, can't see you. But
Can't see me. All right, so should I start the video? It says host has it. Okay, start that. Here we go. All right. How are you?
Action.
How are you? I'm Doug Jackson from Action Jackson Tree Service. I've been listening. All right, gonna go over here. I've been listening to this. I found out about it about a week ago. I hope this does not pass right away. The landscapers, they're definitely worried. I spoke to and texted about 70 landscapers. None of them were happy. Anybody with a home improvements license that I know, masons, roofers, anybody, all use blowers. It's an integral part of the entire day from every service industry. When I do tree work and I'm pricing out a job, I feel bad sometimes when the job is huge, and I try to help the people, get it done in a certain way. I give them time sometimes to pay me. But this is giving me another choice. This is giving me the choice of, I'm going to let the homeowner clean up. And I've done this a few times in the past, and the homeowner who is attempted to clean up, I have chips everywhere, I have dust everywhere. They told me that they paid more for the chiropractor in the next couple of weeks to do the cleanup. It's a problem. The blower is used all day long. The landscapers use it. They have hundreds of clients. They use it all day long. They can't possibly do the right job. When I do a job, sometimes I go to one job, two jobs. Sometimes I take an hour and a half, 2 hours to clean up with gas blowers. And I use 3 of them at the same time. And I'm doing the work. I know a battery operated isn't going to work for that. The cost of that economically is not going to work out. I've spoken to a few clients that I work for this week. They're not happy about it because they have their own blowers also to use it to clean up whatever they do around their pools, they're not happy. No one using a blower is worried about their health. You could ask 100 guys that use blowers every day, they're not worried. If it does pass, the penalties are way too severe. And everyone said that anyone who's observing the law is going to be the only one suffering, because there's hundreds of guys all day doing landscaping, unlicensed, uninsured workers, not doing the right thing. But the guys who usually are doing the right thing get penalized. It's not a terrible idea. It's just the wrong time. Why does the town of the Southampton have to be first? Why do we have to be part of the trend? Can't we be when it's all been figured out in 10 years, when the blowers actually are quiet and they're not loud and they're powerful? Can't we be last? And Cindy, thumbs up. You know what we're talking about. Everyone does. If you have to go to work, you need a blower. Unfortunately, they're 2-stroke, but the world is improving. We need 10 more years to do this. In 10 years, if I'm still alive doing trees, I'm in. I'll buy all the backpack blowers in the world and I'll clean up nice, because the cleanup is the most important part of the job. Landscaping, tree work, masonry, roofing, everything. And the backpack blower is the most important part. And if this happens, are we soon going to not use trimmers, chainsaws, every other piece of equipment? This is not really the right time. And I thank you if my 2 minutes and 45 seconds is up. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Doug.
It is.
All right. Dorothy Riley, you're next.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for your effort for all of us here in the town. My name is Dorothy Riley. I was born and raised in Southampton. And there is a reason that we shouldn't wait another 10 years or even another 5 years for this. And I'm going to let you know why. I have been a climate activist for a while, starting about 30 years ago here in Southampton. I hosted with others the conference called Inherit the Earth. And about 15 years ago, we hosted the first New York Women's Conference for Sustainability. About that same time, a group of us got together and we lobbied the town and created the Sustainability Green Advisory Committee for the town of Southampton. I was the first chairperson for that. And since then, some things have been passed. I've also been inspired by the work of Project Drawdown, showing how we really can make this change that will make a difference. So that I, with others, co-founded Drawdown East End, and beyond that, co-founded Carbon Crew Project for us to create personal climate action plans to reduce our carbon footprint by 50%, like the town is trying to do. So here is our gas emissions. This is what's happening, and this is my lifetime. I'm 71 years old, and all we do is go up and up and up, and our time is out. This is a hard thing for all of us. It's not just the landscapers' business that have to evaluate their efforts here and their finances here. It's every single business across the board. It took us 3 years to get the helium ban, and some businesses have suffered because of that. And some businesses may suffer also because of this. And we'd like to figure out how to support you, possibly by you creating pollinator gardens and other kinds of things. As homeowners, we're the ones having those lands out there, that we're having the lawns, and we're having them do all that work. We have to look inward as well as outward. You are the ones that make the legislation out there. And it is something we feel that we can't afford to do, but we can't afford not to do it. This is the life. This is the life of our earth. This is the life of every living being on this earth. And we have to do the right thing now. So I wholeheartedly support the proposed legislation to restrict gas-powered leaf blowers. And I also support every one of you to take out your iPhones right now and email our town trustees and our supervisor and tell them what you think if you haven't already spoken tonight. Thank you so very much. Have a good night.
All right, thank you, Dorothy.
We have one more person, but they keep declining to speak, and they keep raising their hand and then declining when I try to bring.
What is the name?
Heidel Coffin.
All right. Well, what I think we'll do, because there will be another hearing, if you're not able to get them on, we can get them on at the next one. I'll ask one more time if there's anyone else who wanted to be heard on this seasonal restrictions on gas-powered leaf blowers. I'll give you guys 3 seconds to click that raise hand.
You have to accept. You have your hand raised, but you have to accept.
So you have to raise your hand and accept. Do you see another raised hand, Charles?
Yes, the same person.
Okay, what is the next, John, the next date of the hearing? Or anyone?
Should be March 8th, right?
I believe it's March 8th. March 8th.
And it's a daytime meeting?
A meeting, 1 o'clock, town hall, in person.
And it's in person. All right, Charles, were you able to get this person on or no?
No, they won't. They keep declining.
All right, we have a lot of people waiting for the next hearing. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to adjourn the public hearing to March 8th. The record is open, so people can also submit written comments. Second by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, it's almost 8 p.m. and there was a lot of people wanted to be heard on that, and that is certainly their right. We're going to move on though to the next public hearing, and there's also a lot of people who want to be heard. So, Madam Clerk, would you read the third public hearing notice? You're muted, Sunday. And I'm wondering, Jim, if we'll need to, should we do the 2 hearings together, the 3rd and 4th, or do we need to do them separately? One is on scoping and one is on the project.
Let's go looking for changes on that. Sheets. How could that be? Yeah, I mean, is Janice on? But I think you could hold them together.
Because I don't want people to feel like they have to speak at the first one, then they have to speak again at the second one.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
I'd like the whole comments on both together if we can.
I really think this one kind of supersedes the next one, because the next one was held over. I think originally, if you recall, I think Janice just wanted to give people an opportunity to be notified of of the application, have people discuss it before and before they make a determination on the seeker. We held that. Now they've made the determination and we paused it. So I think the second one is probably hearing number 4.
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Is essentially
Hi, everybody.
null and void. Or,
Do you mind me?
yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Help us here.
Good evening,
Please.
Supervisor Schneiderman and members of the board. I would call the hearings combined at this point. You don't need the first, the first one was like a sort of just a temperature taking
Right.
of the public, as Jim
That's public hearing number
mentioned.
4 now, which
And
is listed
the
as
second one is a very formal process, a secret process, which is scoping. So we decided to, while we're all talking about it, might as well make it the scoping hearing. So, and I'll explain what that means after the notices are read, but you can just read them both or combine them however you see fit.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to
essentially public hearing number 4 merged into public hearing number 3 at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So Cindy, would you read the 3rd and the 4th public hearing notice?
Absolutely. Public hearing number 3, public scoping session to facilitate preparation of draft environmental impact statement, DEIS, for the NRP group change of zone application entitled The Preserve at South Country Road for a change from CR 40 to multifamily planned residential district on a 17-acre parcel in order to facilitate development of 104 units, 6 units per acre of affordable rental housing in the hamlet of Quiog. Public hearing number 4 for a change of zone application entitled The Preserve at South Country Road for a change from CR 40 to multifamily planned residential district on a 17-acre parcel in order to facilitate development of 104 units, 6 units per acre of affordable rental housing in the hamlet of Quiog.
And I think Janice can speak further on this, but I think as a clarification, just so that you know that once the scoping's done and the seeker is completed and we have a hearing on the draft environmental impact statement, we'll probably have a joint hearing on the application at that time. So just don't want to give anybody the impression that public hearing number 4 is the hearing on the application. It's not, as Janice mentioned, it was just a hearing just to give people notice of the application itself, essentially.
Now you're actually confusing me a little bit. So
Actually, no, it's a scoping hearing, and that's a very formal procce under DEC where
No, I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about
the first one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, first one is, but you're saying first one, but it's public hearing number 4 tonight. So
Four is the continuation of the last one, and 3 is the new scoping one. Got it.
Right. It's just, I think some people who might not be aware of the process might think that what is now referred to as public hearing number 4 is the hearing on the change of zone, because it says a public hearing for a change of zone application.
It is. It still is. And you can close the scoping one and keep that one open throughout the process, and it will be on the record. But we didn't formulate, you didn't decide anything yet. So, it's just we can renotice that hearing with a local law at some point. We're going to have to renotice the hearing number 4.
Right.
So you can close that one in other words, and we would end up having to renotice.
Yeah, I would say public hearing number 4 merges into public hearing number 3 at this point. At the time when you have your hearing on the actual draft environmental impact statement, you'll probably have the hearing on the application itself at that time. So
exactly.
That's right. Okay.
Don't worry, we've got it.
So we're going to be entertaining comments on either of these things. So one is on the scoping for SECRA, and the other is on the application itself for a zone change. So I get and both comments can apply to both. Whatever you say can also apply to the other. So why don't we do this? Who wants to introduce this? Janice Shearer, our Land Planning and Development Administrator, will quickly introduce it.
Thank you. Yes, so the purpose of this scoping hearing and either of the hearings is to hear public comments on this application. The scoping one is very specific in that the purpose of a scope is to outline the extent and quality of information that is required for you to make a decision. So there's a whole bunch of categories, and as we hear the comments, you'll hear, you know, I like it or don't like it, but then there's more substantive comments like, you know, I saw one submitted to the record by the group for the East End, and it said, well, you should analyze a reduced density alternative, for instance. And so that's an actual alternative. So we'll be like categorizing, you have to worry about it because we'll take that information and the applicant will be required to categorize these comments into well, they've already given us a draft scope, and we'll take that draft scope and make it into a final scope. And we'll say, okay, let's say it has to do with growth inducing impacts. I'm just making this up. Then somebody might say, well, I'm concerned that you're going to do 10 more of these in Quiot. So you might say, well, give us a map that shows us all the other parcels that would be qualified to ask for this kind of zone change. And that's like an extent and quality of information that you would want to know so that you can make that assessment. So that's what the scope is all about. If we're looking at water resources, somebody may say, well, I want you to look at, you know, impacts on surface waters. Okay, which ones and what kind of impact? Is it, you know, nitrogen, pollutants of concern? So we're trying to like drill down on what is necessary to analyze in order for you to make an informed decision. And that's really the point. And I would just like to say that the applicant is here, and so is their environmental consultant, Nelson Pope and Voorhees. So I don't know if you want to hear from them at all, but as we move forward, if you have any questions, they are available.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Chick, do you want to say something at the onset? If not, we'll go right to the public.
Yeah, I'll just make a couple of brief remarks. It's for the record, Chick Voorhees, excuse me, Nelson Pope and Voorhees. I am the environmental consultant for the project. I did attend the first town board hearing on January 11th. And obviously, this is now held on the calendar, as was mentioned, and there will be further hearings on the draft environmental impact statement. My office, the draft scope, that is the subject of the hearing this evening. Thank you for the introduction. I think you've outlined the process, and I don't need to comment any more on that. Considering the purpose of the meeting tonight, I'm here to listen to comments on the draft scope and assist the town board and staff to issue the final scope. And with that said, we don't plan on making a presentation on the project. We did that at the January 11th hearing. Please note that there are other team members that are present to hear comments that come from the public, either on the scope or the project itself, as well as any publics from the comments from the town board. And we're really not here to answer questions at this point, unless the board has some clarification items that they'd like us to try and help with. The draft scope is dated January 19th, 2022. It is prepared consistent with the seeker handbook and seeker law under part 617. And it has all the required elements to do exactly what Janice indicated, and that is identify the content adequacy of information to be provided in the environmental impact statement. We believe it's thorough. It includes a project description. It includes the POS deck and the items that this board found were of concern and need to be studied in the document. And it includes a detailed outline as well as some of the methodologies to be used in analyzing those impacts. So that concludes my remarks. As I said, other representatives of the applicant are here to listen, and I will be here to listen as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor.
All right, thank you, Chick. All right, any questions from board members before we go to the public? All right, seeing none, if you wish to be heard, you do need to click the raise hand icon. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to make their comments known. You not only have to click the raise hand icon, but you also have to accept when you're asked to speak. And I think we have somebody, Catherine. Catherine, I'm going to need your last name as well.
Hi, my name is Catherine Biddinger.
Can you spell that, please?
Sure, B as in boy, Iddinger.
All right, thank you, Catherine. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I spoke at the last meeting and I wanted to just add a little bit today. We live very nearby on Old Meeting House Road and have noticed significant changes just from the rezoning of the Carwin Lane development, which was done about 9 years ago. We went from 1 acre zoning, I believe, to 0.6 acre zoning with a trade for Pine Barren credits. You know, it's changed the landscape of our area, but it's been done nicely. To that, this is directly adjacent to Carwin Lane. I just want to give everyone a little bit of an idea of what the scale of this project looks like. It's hard to imagine. I actually counted the parking spaces, the new parking spaces in the downtown village of West Hampton Beach, from the Village Green at Walgreens all the way to the other end, all the way to the church, to the country club. There are literally only 6 more parking spaces per side on the entire length of Main Street than are being proposed at this project. It's an enormous project. And I think it's hard for people to visualize exactly how big it is. And I think we are all understand the need for affordable housing, but this project is within 5 or 6 miles of the westernmost border. It's on the west side of the canal where the traffic ends. As an architect dealing with people in the trades, they are heading to the east end and the traffic starts right where we are on 27. I really think it's hard for people to imagine the entire length of Main Street in West Hampton Beach, fully every single parking space filled, leaving for work in the mornings. The trades work 7 days. As we know, construction is allowed 7 days. Many public servant people are working 7 days. I really do think it's hard for people to imagine the size of the project. And I would love to see it scaled down dramatically, much like Mckeon and so on. So I just thought that little bit of information about the scale helps everyone, including the board, understand just how enormous this is. This is your back roads. The people heading to the East End for work every morning will be driving right past the Quogue Wildlife Association property. There's a hard right turn there. This is really a problem. And there are other intersections on the other end of South Country Road, or, you know, there's one that has 4 lanes coming into it. I really highly recommend that the board look very carefully at the scale of the project. So that's all I have to contribute right now. And I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Catherine. All right, Charles, you want to bring in somebody else?
I see no other hands.
Oh, I find that hard to believe.
now they're raising hands. Michael Daly.
All right.
You have to unmute, Michael. There you go.
Yeah, all these buttons, all the many buttons of that we have to push today. So Michael Daly, and I'm speaking tonight as founding member of East End YIMBY. And I had actually prepared to speak at the scoping session. And we actually had a workshop this weekend for East End YIMBY members, because these whole issues around community housing and affordable housing are so complex. And our goal is to help educate people around these issues and to understand, so what is seeker? What is a pause deck? What's a negative deck? Why do pause decks happen? Once there is a pause deck, what's a DEIS? What's an FEIS? And we asked and were delivered the approximately 1,200 page EAF that was delivered with this development's proposal. And I don't know how many people have had a chance to look at it or read it, but a lot of the questions that are being asked are factually addressed in that EAF. Things about traffic, things about school children, things about groundwater. And so while developing, as you're in the process of the draft environmental impact statement for the preserve, I'd like to ask that you take into consideration some of the following things. Number one, that it will help the town to meet diverse and currently unmet housing needs and town housing goals that are established in the comprehensive plan and in town code, including helping households with limited income, young adults who are just starting out, persons with disabilities, local workforce, fire and EMS volunteers, teachers and seniors and empty nesters on fixed incomes who are seeking to downsize. I would ask that you explore that this residential community will provide open space and recreational facilities for its residents, including walking trails, bocce courts, and wooded perimeter buffers. Would ask that you consider the fact that this MFPRD, multifamily planned residential district, is an important step in meeting affordable housing, business and employment related goals, and providing the necessary housing stock to foster economic vitality and healthy and sustainable community. Would ask that you consider that the project will increase local investment, provide new construction and maintenance jobs, and boost local spending by construction and maintenance workers and future residents. As a matter of fact, the construction is expected to generate 82 full-time jobs and will have, direct and induced impact of another 65 jobs in the community during the 2-year construction process of this, resulting in over $16 million in labor income for the town of Southampton. Please also note that the permanent full-time employees and indirect number of jobs, as well as economic impact for the local businesses from the residents in this community development, will be significant. One of the pieces that are in the EAF which is the economic and fiscal analysis, 1,200 pages delivered with this proposal, is the estimate and the number of school children. And despite what anyone might think, there is an actual analysis study that's done and created by Rutgers University and the Center for Urban Policy Research that is reliable and is commonly used to estimate the number of school children that a residential development will create. And 33 is the number, regardless of what anyone thinks. Certainly, thank you. I thought we should have 6 minutes now since we're putting both hearings together. Huh? I guess not. Okay.
3 minutes.
And then lastly,
Nice try.
Lastly, the traffic studies that were done and that will be done again have demonstrated that there is, they do not degrade the level of service of the nearby intersections. The traffic studies will have to be done again during this. And then I just ask that we look at what is the additional impact as of right, 27 to 30, 4 to 5 bedroom single family homes, which could create 120 to 150 bedrooms. And not only the traffic from those homeowners, but from all the services, the carting services, fuel delivery trucks, landscapers, plumbers, electricians, pest control service people, and other service that private homes create. This is a good project for the community. It's a good project for Southampton town. And I look forward to it going through this process. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Janet is next.
Janet Grossman is next. Janet, you're gonna have to unmute, or we won't be able to hear you. Click the microphone icon. I think it should be in your bottom left of your screen. It says mute.
Got
under
it. Okay, got it.
There you go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
We
me?
sure can.
Okay, first of all, I would just like to say that I think Michael made a wonderful presentation, and I really hope you really, it's a very, very long report, and he did an awfully good job of summarizing a lot of the issues that people are concerned about. One thing I want to say is that on the East End, wherever we put multifamily housing, it's going to be difficult for the people who live near there. And it's always going to be difficult. However, we're going to have to I personally am a retired teacher. And for years, all I've seen is kids go off to college and they are gone forever. They can't come back to the East End. The only way they can stay here is if they go into a family business or they go start a business. So I really want to have local kids be able to live near family. I want senior citizens to be able to live near family. And the only way is if there's housing that's affordable. So I think we're going to need a lot of these projects because there's such a need out here. And it isn't fair that unless you have an awful lot of money, you can't be here. And that's the way it is. And I think people need help. And I think the way you're going is the proper direction. And I hope there are going to be many more projects like this. That's all.
Thank you, Janet. Charles, is there anyone else?
Let's see.
If you wish to be heard,
Yes.
please click the raise hand icon.
Yeah, we have a few more. Brioni?
Hey, Brianna, you're coming in. You just need to unmute.
Briney.
Briney.
Briney. Hi, how are you,
Sorry.
everyone? That's
I'll
okay.
get it one of these times.
Thank you. Gosh, the last two speakers took the words out of my mouth. Ms. Grossman, I am speaking as a resident of Sag Harbor and as a member of East End YIMBY who is in support of developments like what's going, this proposed development in Quiog all throughout Southampton town. And I agree, everybody who's right next door to where one of these developments is going in is mostly affected, but we have to do this. This is the only solution to address our young people fleeing the East End and our seniors, all of whom we need, not to mention our essential workers. And in terms of the scoping, I wanted to make sure that we really do. Michael, I think, spoke about this, but what other uses are being considered for this property? Because if it's just as of right development, we could have as many as 30 single family homes. And while that may not sound like anything compared to 104 apartments, it certainly is, because the amount of traffic that comes from single family homes, as many of us know, is way more than what would be bringing what would be servicing this development. So I live on one street where we have 10 different carting companies, 10 different landscapers, 10 different plumbers, all servicing each little home. If we were able to, the homes on the property could create an even greater environmental impact to groundwater due to multiple septic systems versus the wastewater treatment system that's proposed for this, for example, or the traffic, to service McMansions versus one landscaping company, one fuel delivery, one maintenance service that might be able to service this development. So I think that we all want to see multifamily housing throughout the East End, and but it has to go somewhere. And it really seems like from the study that I didn't read all 1,200 pages of this this study, but they've done all the work there in identifying, and locating this project as being really important. And it seems to make a lot of sense where it is. So I fully support it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
David
Irony.
is next.
All right, David Seeley. You're still muted, David.
All right, you see me now? All set?
Yep.
How are you? Back again. So, I think one of the biggest issues I have with this project is where it is, because it's on the the west side of the canal, where we have the most amount of traffic, number one. If you know anything about the travel in the morning, which I do, I have multiple crews going out there every day. It's a 2.5 hour to 3 hour loss per day per crew going out there. So one of our biggest problems in this area, first off, is our roads. We cannot handle the amount of housing that you're proposing, not only with this, but the future that this holds. Because once you open the floodgates, you're going to have developers coming down, and we're going to develop more of these in the future. Two, it seems to me that we here on the west end of the town are going to get the brunt of this. It seems as though there's a lot of targeting, especially in West Hampton. There's 140 or 104 on this particular unit. There's 47 more apartments going up on Montauk Highway, and I believe they just started another set of apartments on the west side of Montauk Highway, West Hampton Beach, on the what used to be a beach club. I think it was a beach club property. So we have 200 units going in West Hampton. So we're taking a brunt of this already. It's starting on the west end of town, whereas most of the services are on the east end of the town, meaning that we all go to the east to make our money. It's I know that we have to deal with this low income housing or workforce housing issue. I get it. I think there's better ways of doing it with triplexes and duplexes that are owned by somebody who's going to live in those triplexes or duplexes. This particular unit is going to be owned by a massive corporation that has, I think, 40 of these units throughout the country, 16 states, if I'm not mistaken. There's other complaints and whatnot about them. Nor here or there. I just feel that we're opening ourselves up to massive corporations who are going to come in, scoop up land. They're going to do these multifamily dwellings, which, by the way, I've worked in. They're not made well. They're not of what I would say high quality construction. They are going to be poor quality construction. They're going to be not a very pretty place in as many years. So when it starts to degrade and they sell it and it's going to become transient, and I just a rental unit is not what we're about. We're home ownership type people. If you want to do something where we have a homeowner who rents an apartment, you want a homeowner who wants to build a duplex or a triplex and then occupies that, because then they have skin in the game. I'm all for it. There's got to be a better way than building 104 units on this land, which is on the wrong side of our problems. Absolutely on the wrong side of our problems. It just needs to be thought out better. This is not the right place for it. I think also we're not paying attention to what people really studied back in the day. I don't think they realized that the zoning was made years ago when people realized you can't put 10 pounds of stuff in a 2-pound bag. We are a 2-pound bag.
30 seconds.
We do not have the infrastructure to support this type of building. And here we are, we're talking to people who want to put many of these units, tens and 20s of these types of housing units. It's just not feasible here. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the school infrastructure. Our school spending is going to go through the roof. This is stated to have 33 kids. They're out of their minds. It's going to be 100 kids. It's going to be $2.7 million for spending. gonna be 2.5 million, that we have to make up. The people who pay full taxes, they're gonna pay partial taxes. $125,000 from this unit. I just don't see it as viable. That's just my opinion.
All right, thank you, David.
Minerva.
Minerva Perez, you are next.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you. I saw this was on the agenda, so I did want to stick around. And I want to thank the board for this to be considered, this multifamily residential community. I also want to thank Michael Daly and Bryony Frage for the work that they're doing with East End YIMBY. It's tremendous work, and it's difficult because, as Ms. Grossman has said, it's going to be a difficult conversation to have. I remember when I think it was Sandy Hollow, or there's other affordable housing that's happened in East Hampton. Affordable housing has been a concern, a consideration, a challenge, a difficulty across the entire East End. More specifically, I'd say the South Fork than any other place. But there are needs that we have, and I think before we want to not consider them, we have to consider what we lose if we don't make this a priority. And I think some of the suggestions that Seeley had, Mr. Seeley, I think they're really interesting. I think in terms of duplexes and other ways of building on housing, I think those are important. But the problem is that the organizations that are really helping to push even any kind of conversation about this are organizations like East End YIMBY, because they're going to go to bat for housing in a way that other people aren't. We can keep pushing the ball around and say we could try this or try that, but we need to do something. And I, as a East End resident, Sag Harbor homeowner, the mother of a 24-year-old, I also would like to see not only my child but her peers have a place to live here and to call their home, and to build some of their dreams out here as well. And I have to say that the homeowners situation, I think, is a good one, but it's difficult when I've been considering different ways that we can make sure that inventory stays kind of on the East End and stays with the people that need it in that capacity. And sometimes renting is the key. You own something and almost immediately it gets sold, probably for more value, and then it's out of the inventory. And then you're kind of looking at that, and then you're trying to replenish that or find another place to build. I think looking at rentals, as long as they're handled correctly, as long as you're working with companies that have integrity and they have some sort of way of regulating what's going on there, I think that the opportunity to have that inventory stay on the East End and remain with people who need it most as a housing option is something that we have to look at, and not just build affordable homes and have them sold and taken out of inventory. So I think these are important considerations to make. And it does sound like 124 pages, which I have not read, of consideration on other environmental impacts, as Bryony was stating, are real. They're taking these things into consideration. So I'm happy for all of this being considered. Thank you all for everything that you're doing, and have a great night.
Thank you, Minerva.
Anthony Hitchcock.
All right, Tony Hitchcock is next.
It is.
All right, we can hear you, Tony.
Great. I'll be very brief. You'll be relieved to know. Yeah, I'm very supportive of all the initiatives that the town of Southampton is taking in terms of developing affordable housing. I work closely with Hayground School. We lost a teacher last year because she could no longer afford to live here. I mentioned this at the last hearing, had to move back to Connecticut. We cannot allow the continued path to having the East End just be for wealthy elite, and have all the workforce that we care so much about having to drive out from Western Suffolk to work here every day. We need diverse community of people living and supporting and being part of our community. It's that inclusiveness that makes where we live strong and makes America strong. And so I support this project and others like it throughout the East End. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
And Steve is next.
Steve Jiffer.
Can you guys hear me this time?
Yes. So far,
Okay.
so good.
Okay. Yeah. Steve, I guess you already know. I support the idea of the, yeah,
Losing it again.
We're losing you again. You might have to go
housing
back
come.
and shut the
Just
video
not
down.
sure of the amount. I live, you know, just a few houses away from. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
That's better.
Okay, yeah. So I live pretty close to the Mckeon Commons, and I know it's much smaller, but it really, I thought it would be much more intrusive. I didn't even know it was open for the first few months, and there's obviously a need. It's, you know, you could try to get it for 4 years and still not get in there. I mean, it's very important. I would like somehow the town to do a study and say, like, we need 4,000 units over the whole town, and we're going to put so much in each school district or something like that, you know, or allow people to build that many, because it is important that it's spread out. We can't just build them all in the same area. You know, I don't think we should be going, you know, based on the size of the property alone, that they can build 104, so we'll allow it. I think we should say, you know, we need 50 in West Hampton, 50 in a different town, 50, you know, whatever the number is. I don't know what it is, but I just think obviously it's really important, and we need to do something. I mean, we can't just, you know, just say we don't want it. We want it, but we don't want it near us, because it needs to be near someone. I mean, and as for living near the Mckeon Commons, it's not as bad as you would think. I mean, it really, these are people that get up and go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they don't come home until 7, 8 o'clock at night. They're not there all day. You wouldn't even know they live there. So I just think that it's just something to consider, you know, but I'd really like to see some sort of a study that says, like, you know, we need this many units so that each town has their fair share. You know, that's really important, I think, for school districts and everyone, you know, so that's it.
All right, thank you, Steve. All right, we're going to bring in
Lisa's next.
Lisa Beth Mizell.
Yes, Lisa Beth Meisel. Thank you very much. I want to say that I am a homeowner in Queog. A lot of the people who are speaking tonight are not homeowners in Queog. And I get that a lot of people say that this needs to be somewhere. I'm not saying don't build it in Queog. I'm just saying don't build it for this size. This affordable housing should be spread throughout the town of Southampton, not in one tiny little hamlet. The size of the construction that was done in Mckeon is a fraction of what is being proposed here. I don't think that people are being honest about the effect on schools, on the effect on traffic. And I think when David Cowley talked about all the traffic is on the west side of the canal, and this is talking about being built on the west side of the canal, it needs to be spread out. It should be some in Sag Harbor. There should be some. I'm not saying don't build it by us, just build it on a more reasonable size. That's
all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Who is next, Charles?
I think that's it.
All right, I'll ask again if you wish to be heard at either of these two public hearings that are combined. Just click the raise hand icon, and then we will send you an invitation to speak, which you just need to accept.
We have one more. Let's see. To start your video.
This is Maria. All right, you're probably saying something funny, but it's you're muted.
Saying something funny. It's her husband.
Okay.
I did. You're 100% correct. My name is David Schreier, and I'm a homeowner in West Hampton Beach, and I've lived there only since 1997, so I'm new to the community. This is the first meeting I've ever attended, and insofar as this project is concerned, I have to echo the comments of the last several speakers. There's no question there's a need for, and I'm an attorney, not that that matters. There's no question that there's a need for affordable housing. I couldn't agree more. I also agree with everybody that said it just can't be by me because you're putting this by me. And the fact of the matter is it needs to be spread out throughout the entire town of Southampton. Some guy spoke about all these people that are going to live there and they're all going to go to work and they're all going to work. Yeah, they're all going to work in Southampton, Bridgehampton, Watermill, and East Hampton. They're not all going to stay in West Hampton Beach or West Hampton or Spionk or Remsenburg. That's just not happening. They're all going to go west. East. And the fact of the matter is the traffic's going to be terrible. You're asking people to drive further than they need to drive to go work. You want affordable housing? The people that are going to be living there are going to be the people that are using the leaf blowers that you talked about for 2 hours before this. And you have to, the person that indicated that there needs to be a study done to spread it out throughout the entire town is 100% correct. And you're also talking about putting 104 units on a site that had a dry cleaner. Where did their perk go? Where did all their schmutz go? And you want to put people that are lower income on top of an environmental disaster area. Now, I understand you're going to get an environmental impact statement. You definitely need one. And don't forget the fact that Gabreski is a Superfund site. I mean, you guys just aren't being realistic. You're going to put 104 units on top of a dry cleaner and think that it's going to be okay? You're not thinking. You must, affordable housing is absolutely necessary. I couldn't agree more. 100%. But you have to put it throughout the entire town, not on just the western edge of the town. How many of the speakers here tonight and how many of the board members live on the west side of the canal? How many of them are sending their children to the schools that are on the west side of the canal? Thank you, Mr. Martell. One. I saw one. 2, 3. Okay. So then you guys know what I'm talking about. It's not fair to ask the west side of the town of Southampton to shoulder the burden for affordable housing. I am pretty sure that the person that talked about living in Sag Harbor knows that there's lots of property out there that could be used for it. And I'm sure Ms. Grossman, who said that, yes, wherever it's going to end up, those people are going to be upset. She's 100% correct. So let's put it in her backyard. Let's put it in the guy who said he lives in Bridgehampton's backyard. Let's put it everywhere. And the gentleman, the young man that spoke before me is correct. You need to do a study. You need to figure out how many units you need, and then you need to figure out where they're going to go. Not
30
just,
seconds.
I'm done. Thank you so much.
All right.
Spell your last name.
With
First
great
name.
difficulty. S is in Sam, C is in cat, H is in hat, R is in Rachel, E is in Evan, I is in Isaac, E is in Evan, R is in Rachel. It was a cruel joke played on my grandfather when he wandered into this country by some guy after he mumbled something, and we now have 3 vowels in a row for the rest of our life. Like on the Wheel of Fortune, I always have a vowel. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
No other
All right.
hands.
There's no other hands. All right, I'll ask one more time if you wish to be heard at the 3rd or 4th public hearing, both related to the workforce housing development over in Quiog. Now is your opportunity to speak. You need to click the raise hand icon.
No hand.
All right, all right. So in terms of Janice, maybe to you, some of this may have to get held over anyway. Where do we stand in terms of additional public hearings?
You can have a public written comment period attached to the scoping one. That would then be, by the end of the comment period, we would check the record and we would formulate the final scope based on everything that you've heard tonight and anything else put in writing to the clerk's office. And then the initial meeting, can be closed. And then when we get the draft, you'll then see a resolution to adopt a final scope. And then you'll see, and then once we do that, they'll go off and, perfect their environmental impact statement. And then we'll notice a combined hearing on the zone change and the DEIS at that point. So what I'm saying is basically you can close both, and the one that's for the scoping can have a written comment period for the record.
Maybe we should just leave a written comment period for both of them.
Whatever you want to do.
What, 10 days?
Sounds good to me. What is it the board's pleasure, whatever you would like.
And 10 days would bring us to Friday, the 4th of March.
So
I'm
that
okay
means
with
that by the end of that, by the second meeting in March, we'll have the final scope resolution for your consideration.
All right. So I will make a motion to close public hearing number 3 and leave the written record open until noon on March 4th.
We just make it the end of the day. Is that okay?
Is that better, Sunday?
It does. Please.
All right, we'll do it at the end of the day on March 4th. Do I have a second on that? Second by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye. All right, so that is closed except for written comments till the end of business on March 4th. I'm going to make the same motion on public hearing number 4. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, that gets us to the end of the public hearings. Thank you to everyone who participated. We are not done though, Town Board. We still have public portion. We still have the whole agenda of resolutions ahead of us. But we do appreciate everybody who patiently waited to be heard or just listened in. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move to public.
Thank you.
Public portion. And this is a time when people can speak really on anything that's on their minds, anything that's in front of us later in the agenda, or other issues they want to bring to our attention. So each speaker is given 3 minutes to make their comments known. So I will put it out there. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard in public portion today? Please click the raise hand icon and we will bring you in. It's a trifecta, David.
It's a trifecta.
Yep, busy. Just getting busy. Yeah, I have a little bit of a thing we worked on before was the lights at the field in West Hampton. I know got pretty much squashed, but we need to start thinking about a West End park. And I know I spoke to this about with Rick and with others. We have 376 kids joined our Little League this year, and we have one field. I don't really know what to do with everybody, but we're going to try to figure it out. It's pretty much the Hampton West field is the only field we have. I know that we've identified property up on Old Country Road in Mckeon that was viable for this type of thing. It's time we start thinking about something for our kids. I know that we've thought about everything for the beaches and whatnot for everybody who visits here, but we have lots of sports that aren't really getting a lot of field time. Soccer, lacrosse, football, softball, baseball. Excuse me. We tried to get the lights at the Hampton West field because it would allow us to get more kids involved. Like I said, we have 11 softball teams this year, and I believe there's 14 baseball teams this year that we are going to be doing with Little League. So it's really imperative that we get something closer to the West Hampton area because there really isn't anything here other than Hampton West. We've annexed a little bit of Hampton Bays in the Red Creek Park, but there's not enough field space there for everybody there either, with the men's leagues and Hampton Bays' little league as well. It's really time that we start taking care of our own. I really would like to see some effort put forward to try to get this park going. It's vitally important we take care of our kids in this area. And I know that the complaint was that it was too near, residential houses, and it was bothersome to the people that live there. So we need to find a spot, and there's 160 acres on Old Country Road that we can very much utilize. So I think it's something that we really need to investigate. And I'd like to see it get up going soon, because it's harder and harder every year to house all the kids that we got going on. And I know that Southampton has, there's the soccer club, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they have something like 35 or 40 teams that they're trying to house. So there's no soccer fields for them. There's the lacrosse end of it that has a bunch of teams. They don't have anywhere to go. There's a lot of sports that aren't being, taken care of in this area for the kids. And, unfortunately for us, our kids and us are working as hard as we can during the summer, because that's when our busiest seasons are. The people we take care of, most of the wealthiest people in the world, actually. And then, when it comes spring or fall, we have our kids playing sports, and we have nowhere to go. And it would be it'd be really something that we need to do expeditiously, actually, because we're out of space here. So I wish that we can get going on something like that if that's possible. Thank you.
Yeah, that wheel is in motion, Dave. I mean, I've had meetings about that parcel on Old Country Road with the Parks Director, and I think maybe with Councilman Martell. And, we are looking at some different park plans for that and trying to see what, if anything, CPF money could be used. We have to amend the plan a little bit, the original plan, to allow that disturbed area to be used for recreational purposes. I don't think that'll be a problem. And CPF might be able to pay for some of the parking areas, maybe some other minor aspects, but then creating the ball fields and bathrooms and things like that would require either a lot of community fundraising or the town supporting a bond to put those facilities in place. But that plan is in the works. And I know the lighting got squashed. Sorry if it's a sports reference. But the lighting had issues because it needed approval by the Pine Barrens Commission, and it's in the core of that Hampton West property. So it's very hard to really do much of anything in the core of the Pine Barrens, as you're probably familiar with. But
I am, yeah. But we're talking about 4 light poles and on an existing piece. I just don't see how or why that's an issue, honestly.
Well, you can have a conversation. Have a conversation with Marty Shea. There's a lot of nocturnal species in that area that live in that Pine Barrens, and they were concerned about the effects of the light. I think it was the buck moth or something, the eastern long-eared bat or something. I don't know. Maybe not the bats, but the moths or something. So on
a 21 acre parcel in the midst of 2,000 acres. I get it.
It's a New York. That's a New York State protected environmental region. This other one will be a little bit easier. The one on the Old Country.
Dave, Rick and I met with Kristen Doulos on this, so we both totally support it, and it looks like it can work out. We just have to figure out some of the costs and some of the other support from some of the other leagues to help make that happen. But I think that's that has some good promise in it. So stay tuned, I guess I should say, because nothing that we heard or discussed except maybe cost. But I think that's something that we can get around, find a way to do that. So, but I know we're working on that. I know Rick's working on it really hard. And I think it's the right location. I think it's a good place for it.
Yeah, no, I do too.
Dave,
all right.
Have you checked into Iron Point Park?
So the story behind Iron Point, we actually practiced there. Yeah, we practiced there over the summer, and it's just not an appropriate place for kids, honestly.
Yeah,
we'll just stop it there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Michael
Daly, back again.
Yes, hi, how are you? Thanks. I just wanted to stay to just offer a little more color on what it is that we're trying to accomplish at East End YIMBY. And you know, we're over 200 members now, and when we come to these meetings, we are all committed to actually supporting affordable community housing where we live too. We're actively involved in Sag Harbor's exploration of how to create affordable community housing. We're very involved in East Hampton Township as well, with the great momentum that they have going. We're advising people in Shelter Island. We're speaking at a Mattatuck meeting tomorrow night. So, you know, we come with the sincere intent to support all types of affordable community housing and housing that's affordable, that needs to be built in our township. And this 104 units is going to be a drop in the bucket with you if you take all of the needs that we have, and it will be spread all over the township. We need to do that. And so one of the things that I just wanted to mention was this unfortunate discussion that happened in media about ADUs in the last couple of weeks, where the governor had put accessory dwelling units into her budget, and it was met with a very strong resistance from primarily conservative lawmakers who didn't want the mandate. And I understand that a mandate is not a good thing for elected officials, local elected officials, and that anything the state tends to do, you know, can get misinterpreted and interpolated on a local level. But I don't want the discussion around accessory dwelling apartments and cottages to get thrown out with that conversation that happened over the mandate, because you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. ADUs are a very valuable and reliable and easier solution to help create housing that's more affordable rather than government-sponsored affordable housing. That gets put in the hand of local property owners. That get and people who own properties should have the right to create an accessory apartment or a cottage on their property. I want to create one for my 29-year-old son. Okay. And I'm not going to tell you his personal story. There's tons of personal stories just like his, you know, every time he rents a house and he ends up, you know, getting moved out because the house gets sold or the person wants to rent it to somebody else for a great.
30 seconds.
So we, you know, we understand that ADUs are a good thing. We do have legislation in place in Southampton town. I've read it, I've looked at it. And when my brain stopped frying from trying to read it and understand it, I realized that it's just significantly more restrictive than we need in order for it to become more widely adopted. And I'd encourage you to take a good look at the ADU legislation and to simplify it in order to create more opportunities for ADUs in the township. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
Good night.
No other hands.
All right, is there anyone else who wishes to be heard in public portion? If so, you need to click the raise hand icon.
No other hands.
We'll give it a few more seconds here. Then we're going to close public portion. Still no hands?
No hands.
All right, I'll make a motion to close public portion.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. Did we lose John?
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't see him. All right, am I wrong?
No, he's not here.
He's coming in. He's coming in.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to hold off on calling the vote until we get John. All right.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened. I got tossed out.
All right, I don't see you yet, but I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
This is to close public portion. That was an aye, right, John?
Aye.
Yes, all right. So we
Aye.
close
I got
public portion. Public portion is closed. All right, we now will move on to resolutions. And Councilman Bouvier, you actually have the first one, so you've arrived just in time.
just in time. Town Board Resolution 2022-211 authorizes survey for 448 and 500 Flanders Road. Flanders is co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone.
Second.
Second by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. All right, 212 of 2022, authorize the purchase of windshield and automotive glass replacement and repair from Auto Glass Plus Inc. using Suffolk County contract. And this is sponsored by all of you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. Apparently replacement glass is a popular item with town board members. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 213 of 2022, authorized purchases from Omnia Partners contract with HD Supply.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. All right, 214 of 2022. Also co-sponsored with all of you, authorizes purchases of automotive Ford vehicle parts and services from Suffolk County contract with Newens Bayshore Ford Inc.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 215, authorize supervisor to sign 2022 contract with Suffolk County Office for the Aging to receive senior citizen nutrition program funding.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 216, authorize supervisor to sign a contract with Local TV Inc. in order to simulcast programming on Sun 20 TV, the cable television public access channel.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 217 of 2022, co-sponsored with Councilman Schiavone, is to authorize the supervisor to sign a satisfaction of mortgage on a community development block grant loan.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 218, authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Securus Technologies LLC.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 219. Authorize supervisor to sign an agreement with Suffolk County for the distribution of STOA funds, STOA funds for the operation of the South Fork Commuter Connection bus service.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 2020 of 2022, authorize supervisor to sign contract extensions with South Fork Asphalt and Rosemar Contracting Corp. for drainage construction east and west of the canal.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 221 of 2022, authorize the purchase of food products and related supplies from Omnia Partners with Premier Inc. with distribution through U.S. Foods.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 222 of 2022, this is a mouthful. Authorize the purchase of milk and dairy products from the New York State OGS with Primo Land Dairies LLC.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 223, authorize the supervisor to sign extension with J. Cole Construction Company, Inc. for Town Hall accessibility new elevator.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
I approved. 224, authorize the supervisor to execute 2022 Youth Bureau agreements with Youth Bureau programming consultants.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
225, authorize the supervisor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the County of Suffolk Department of Labor and Consumer Affairs to provide employment and training opportunities.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. All right, 226, I need to amend. So we're gonna take out any mention of the HBDOD, the Hampton Business, the Downtown Overlay District. And we'll just call it the Hampton Bays Hamlet Business Area. So wherever it says Downtown Overlay District, parentheses, HBDOD, we're just gonna replace that with Hamlet Business Area. And that will occur once in the title, once in the first whereas, once in the first resolved. And that's it. So there's 3 occurrences. So I'll make a motion to amend. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. And now I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Same second.
Same second. Any discussion? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Rick,
I'm going to
you and I
abstain
are-
from that. I'd
Okay.
like to abstain from that one.
Okay. Okay. So I just, with the clerk note, Councilman Martell's abstention. All right.
Town
So
Board
it was
Resolution.
appro-
I'm sorry.
No, I say it was approved on a four yeas and 1 abstention. Okay, go ahead, John.
Town Board Resolution 2022-227, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract for maintenance on trails in Southampton with Green Velvet Tree Incorporated.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 228 of 2022, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Graingris Ford for purchase of 2 Ford F-350s.
Second.
We're not buying electric ones?
We tried. 1.5 wait, they told us.
Oh,
So we
really?
did try.
Okay.
Oh,
Right, so you had a-
because I was just talking to Tom to get the charging stations in place.
Charlie said 1.5 years. I don't know
Oh,
how accurate, but it was
that's
a long
too
way.
bad. I was looking forward to that.
And I think those are only 150s too.
Yeah, right, exactly. I don't think they're making electric 350s yet. Probably
They
will
are
soon,
making electric 150s, which
150s, yeah.
and I hear they're
Beautiful
pretty
truck,
good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because we had some nicer, I think some grant money or something that we were able to apply to that as well.
All right, so we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 229 of 2022, award and authorize supervisor sign contracts for maintenance, installation, repair of water mains with Roadwork Construction Corp.
Sunday, you had a question?
I did. Well, who was the second on the last resolution? Thank you.
Tommy John.
All right, and I need a second on this one.
Second.
Councilman Scavone seconding.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. All right, 230. Recall and amend, authorize supervisor to execute agreements with Sun 20 TV vendors for production assistance.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 231, co-sponsored by Councilman Bouvier. Recall and amend, authorize the supervisor to execute 2022 stewardship agreements with Maureen Stafford, Linda DeCapria, and Patricia Obey to provide custodian services at various parks within the town.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 232 of 2022. Recall and amend Resolution 2022-67 to authorize the supervisor to sign a 2022 Watermill Park District Grant Agreement with the Watermill Museum.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 233 of 2022, recall and amend Town Board Resolution 741 of 2021, which authorized a lease agreement with AutoCore System for a dishwashing machine at Senior Services.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 234 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Good Ground Park Mobile Ice Cream Concession.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 235 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Good Ground Park Mobile Food Truck.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 236 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Hot Dog Beach Mobile Food Truck.
Second.
Summer's coming.
Everybody's seconding. Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye. I felt a need, Rick. I hung out there so much in my youth.
There you go.
So that was approved. We're on 237, Rick.
All right, Town Board Resolution 237 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Ludlam Avenue Park Mobile Ice Cream Concession.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's making me hungry, all this.
Town Board Resolution 238 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Mckeon and W. Scott Cameron Mobile Food Truck.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Where's a mobile food truck when you need one? All right. So the controller asked me to withdraw 239, which was a notice to bidders. So consider, Madam Clerk, would you consider 239 withdrawn
Yes.
by the sponsor, principal sponsor? You guys are all co-sponsors on it.
Yeah, I noticed oil, lubricants, and grease. Is that a message?
I don't know.
Take it as you will, Mr. Councilman.
It's under.
All right, so we'll move on to 240. That's going to be Councilman
Tommy
Schiavone.
240?
Yep, page 28.
No, okay. I saw three names. I just,
Jim, when I withdraw a resolution that has co-sponsors, do I need everybody to agree to withdraw it?
This is on that last one?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be, if you want to be technical about it, sure.
Nobody objects to withdraw.
Nobody objects to it. Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay. You had your
Especially at
opportunity.
9:30 at night.
Well, what would
Okay.
happen if someone did object?
We have the after 9 o'clock rule and the before 9 o'clock rule.
Okay.
That usually
I love
doesn't happen when I'm following a resolution that has co-sponsors. That's
Well said, Jim.
All right, go ahead.
Town Board Resolution 240 of 2022. This is the 2022 notice to bidders for printing of parking summonses.
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 241 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Red Creek Park Mobile Ice Cream Concessions.
Second, this is a theme.
Seconded by Councilman
Slip some
Bouvier.
grease in the middle, that's
This is for ice cream. I need the regular food truck first, dinner, and then I can't have ice cream until after I've had something real to eat. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 242 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Tiana Beach concession and mobile food truck.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
This may be the last one. Town Board Resolution 243 of 2022, the 2022 notice to bidders for Wildwood Lake Park mobile ice cream concession.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. Is this new that we're doing a concession at Wildwood?
I believe it is. Yeah.
As long as they clean up. So,
Some of these we don't get bids for, so you don't know. Maybe she tried before.
yeah, possibly. I can't believe that's a big enough park to warrant an ice cream truck, but you never know.
Well, on the parking lot side, I think this has been tried before. I think, Rick, you're exactly right. I don't think they got bids before, but
yeah.
All right, I guess it doesn't hurt to put it out there. So all in favor?
Aye.
Did Sunday, we had a second on that one?
You had Cindy McNamara.
Okay, perfect. All right, John, you're up.
Town Board Resolution 2022-244, 2022 notice to proposers for Lobster Inn Park Capital Project Design.
Second.
Second by Councilman Martell. I'm just, don't want it to be called the Lobster Inn Park.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Kind of saw that myself.
So, I mean,
Yeah, this is the second notice.
yeah, no, I mean, it's just for our internal understanding of what the capital project is, because it is in the same location as Lobster Inn, but it's the work on the marina there.
The marina.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always had that name. If you want to change it, I can withdraw this and you can get the name changed.
No, I have no problem with it, but when we eventually have a park there, it's not going to be called the Lobster Inn Park.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Maybe it's something to do with Inlet Road or something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
All right. So we had a motion and a second, correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Yeah, I don't want to change it, John, because it's referencing a capital project, so.
Yeah, and I think that's the PL name it's under, so. we can
Oh,
change
this
it.
hasn't, John, this hasn't gone out yet.
No, but I mean, I think they put the funding aside for this already. This is the second notice.
Right, but I'm saying is that this notice doesn't go out until you adopt this. If you wanted to make any changes,
Okay, all right.
it would be
great.
done now.
Thank you.
Yeah, you could do it now if you chose
I
to.
know, but the capital project itself is called Lobster Inn Marina.
Oh, well, that I can't help you with.
I just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're up to 245 of 2022, co-sponsored with Councilman Bouvier. It's to reject bids and second notice to bidders for debris removal at Bel Air Cove Motel.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. John? 246.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. Town Board Resolution 2022-246, co-sponsored with Councilman Schiavone, is to reject bids and second notice to bidders for invasive vegetative control and removal.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Just, on that one, I know we just voted on it, but, well, it's a notice to bidders. I just want to
No.
make sure we don't have any,
Notice bidders, actually.
yeah.
There were some issues, they needed to be rejected and rebid.
I hope that we're using methods that don't involve, pesticides.
Yeah, that's
all right.
part of the bid.
Okay, good. So we're at 247 of 2022. It amends the 2021 budget for various departments.
Second.
It's a housekeeping resolution, basically, seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor? Aye. Approved. 248 of 22 amends the 22 adopted budget for highway.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. I think that related to the storm. 249 of 2022. Amend the 2022 through 26 capital budget and add capital project Bridgehampton BECD nourishment.
Second.
Seconded by, I'm sorry? By Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 250 of 2022 amend the 2022 through 26 capital budget and add capital project Sagaponic BECD nourishment.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 251 of 22 authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with First Coastal Corporation and Coastal Science and Engineering for coastal engineering services in connection with the Bridgehampton Beach Erosion Control District.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. These costs end up getting charged back to the district. 252 of 2022 authorizes the supervisor to execute a contract with First Coastal Corporation, Coastal Science and Engineering for coastal engineering services in connection with the Sagaponic Beach Erosion Control District.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 253 of 2022 appoints Karen Mayer to the Ethics Board. Can I get a second? Seconded by Councilman Scavone. I think I've circulated her resume to everyone. I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to meet Karen. We've had an empty seat on the Ethics Board for a very long time, for years now. But I think Karen will make a superb member. She's very civic minded. She does some counseling work, and she's I think would be a really good fit there. So I hope you'll support her. So call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 254 of 2022 appoints members to the Architectural Review Board. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. Ramona Alpert lives up in the Southampton side of Sag Harbor. She herself is an architect. She's really has an incredible sense of design and an incredible experience. She's, if anything, way overqualified. She's really going to be a great contributing member to that body. We're lucky to get her, I think. John Leonard is a lawyer. He's been involved in the community. And I think also lives, I'm not sure where John lives, Sag Harbor area, maybe?
Yeah. And he's got also has a planning background, which I think is useful for this board.
I know Ramona and her husband, and they have a kid too, I think a 4-year-old child that they're raising. We have 2 empty seats. Actually, again, we've had 2 empty seats there for at least 2 years or more. Right, John? At least 2 years. So we found 2 people who are excited about serving. So, all right, we have motion and a second. I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 255 of 2022, appoint temporary board of assessment review members for 2022. These people probably won't get to do anything this year, but Councilman Scavone?
Second.
Okay, just the reason why I say that is they're really, because we have the freeze going on in the market trend, there are not nearly as many grievances coming in, and the standing committee, I think it's a 3-member board of assessment review. These temporary board members are really only when there's overflow and they need some additional people to hear grievances. So at first, the sole assessor was not even asking to have a temporary board. I thought it would be good to have it just in case. So that's why I put this resolution forward. So we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Approved. Moving on to 256 of 2022, appoints the Safety and Risk Management Committee for 2022.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Councilman Martell, were you seconding?
Yes.
All right, Rick seconded it. This is pretty much all, well, mostly town officers here, highway superintendent, police chief, etc., safety officers. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 257 of 2022 appoints the Sustainable Southampton Green Advisory Committee for 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. This is a long list. You heard some of them today.
So John, Michelangelo's not on this list. Is he just a separate department or?
Yeah, he's ex officio. Janice Shearer is on the.
Okay.
Do we have that guy Mark spoke today?
okay.
Didn't he? That Mark Halbner spoke today.
Yeah, he's on there.
Doesn't he say he's from the North Fork though? Or North Fork Council?
It's on the Riverhead Council.
Riverhead. There's no restriction on this board for. We have a couple of boards like that.
You don't have to be a resident?
No.
Okay.
But they all are. I think he's the only one that isn't. I'll double check that for you, Jay.
He may be a resident. He was just on that council.
I think he is a resident, but he works in River. Got to double check that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right. I don't have an objection. I know that this committee at one point there were a few East Hampton people who were coming to the meetings, and some of these members were meeting with the East Hampton committee, and people were trying to coordinate on some of these policy,
We do
environmental policy.
a lot of regional coordination with the different sustainability groups in different municipalities, as well as the villages.
So a lot of people on the committee.
They're all good, hardworking too. They're all participate. They're not just names on a list.
Well, that's good. Okay, so there's a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 258 of 2022, continuation of legal services by Campola, Middleton, and McCormick LLP as it relates to litigation filed against the town of Southampton involving River Rock Structure Capital LLC for 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Town Board Resolution 2022-259. It's a resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 243 Old File Maps and Town Code Chapter 330-53 Old File Map Overlay District General Regulations to incorporate review by the town's engineering division.
That's the one we were waiting for the
This
planning
is,
board. before?
yeah, actually.
Yeah, we can't vote on this tonight.
Just have to table this.
Kathleen asked to hold it for the.
Yeah.
All right, so John's making a motion
The
to
motion,
table.
table it to the next available town board meeting.
I think it's March 8th.
All right,
Okay.
table to March 8th. Councilman McNamara seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank
it's
you.
tabled. All right, next one, I guess, is 260 of 22, resolution of adoption, amending Town Code Chapter 330-248-5, entitled Canoe Place Inn, Canal and Eastern Properties Maritime Plan Development District.
And excuse me, Jay, I've been told by Janice Schur, there's a Scribner's error, and that the last public hearing was held on January 25th, not January 22nd, in the second whereas.
All right, even before we get there, this is going to require 4 out of 5 because it's a PDD. I don't know if it required referral to Suffolk County Planning Commission and whether that has occurred. I also don't know that I know that there were some very specific conditions about the easement along the water, which it was no longer going to be a springing easement, but it was going to be an absolute easement along the entire waterfront. But there was also the issue of paying the same property taxes
That's
as
in
a
there.
residential development would be. Well, what's the mechanism?
Any different, as far as the taxes are concerned?
Does any differential in annual property taxes from townhouse use to resort motel on parcel will be paid annually by the property owner as a community benefit and put into a pilot fund for allocation by the town board?
I just want to make sure that will be used to offset taxes.
Yeah, so I mean, that's gotta go, that's gotta be the library tax, that's gotta be the fire department, ambulance, water district. And then we're going to distribute it?
The school.
The school,
The
yeah.
school obviously is the big one.
The entities that get pilots are the fire, school, and library in Hampton Bays.
I shouldn't say any differential in property taxes from townhouse use to resort motel. It doesn't say the sole assessor shall determine or anything, Jim, like that.
We want to hold them, we can work on that language a little bit. It's any differential
Well,
annual tax.
Well, how is that?
It goes to page 58. There's a lot in here if you want to start reviewing it now.
Yeah. I mean, we can reference it. It really should, quite frankly, it should be any difference in the assessed value, but, and leading to a differential in the annual taxes, but.
Jim, we probably could put something in to prorate the pilot payments as per the CPF funds for the.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would think that the goal of this was to distribute any additional funds to be distributed as any other taxable monies are distributed, the same way that all funds that are received for property tax are distributed. I assume that's what.
And do we need planning board weigh in? Did the planning board weigh in on this one? And the Suffolk County Planning Commission, we need them both, I think, before we vote.
No.
I think you have a lot of questions. I would suggest you table this.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we got it right. And I don't think it's something that has to get done immediately. I like it personally. I think it's great. I have no problem with the resort use on the, the east side of the canal. I think all my questions were addressed. I love the fact that we're getting the public easement along the waterfront on the entire east side. I do think that the resort use is a better use. You're not going to have any kids in the school. And as long as they're willing to pay the same amount as if they were having kids in the school, I think that's great. And there was another aspect I really liked about this too.
Well, wasn't it? It was also conditional on their doing that. I don't know if that's in or not. They were going to make concessions.
Yeah, well, we're getting the waterfront use. So I think it's better for the local economy. I think I think it's a win all the way around as long as we get the easement and we get the full taxation. But I just want to make sure that the language is tight. And I really think that I just want to double check on Suffolk County Planning Commission and Planning Board, because it ultimately is a zoning issue, right, Jim? And requires the referrals?
Yeah, sure. I would believe that.
It says in the resolution that it was referred to both of them.
Yeah, I would say that it would definitely need to be referred to clearly the Planning Commission.
Yeah, but did they put a rule? Did they give a ruling on?
That's the question. Yeah.
All right. Well, Janice, why don't we table it for now? And if Janice fills in the holes there before the end of the meeting, we can untable it. So, but I'll make a motion to table to March 8th?
Yes.
It does reference the trail easement there, but sure.
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Page 58. Town Board Resolution 2022-261. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Hampton Bays Hibernians Annual St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 19th, 2022 from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m.
Second.
Seconded
Can't wait
by.
for three.
All right, seconded by Councilman McNamara. I would like to co-sponsor this, if I could be added on.
Sure.
Anybody else want to jump
Yeah,
on
might
this
as well
one?
throw me out there.
If we're
Everybody.
all gonna do grease and fittings, we may as
Grease
well.
and oil, you might as well do this.
Tommy John, you're the only one not co-sponsoring. You want to jump on too?
He
Yes.
has to, or his grandmother will yell at him.
It's my mother's birthday today. She's 100% Irish.
All right,
You
so
have no choice, my friend.
Yeah, it's the
all
day.
right. So Sunday, we're all co-sponsors. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Town Board Resolution 262 of 2022, authorize the 2022 Earth Day tree seedling planting.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Town Board Resolution 263 of 2022 to authorize the attendance at the New York State YMCA Youth and Government Conference in Albany on March 18th through 20th, 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great program.
Approved. All right. 264 of 2022, authorize Community Preservation Fund tax refund pursuant to the first-time homebuyers exemption for Daniel, Michael Pasella, and Dane Clark.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 265 of 2022, authorized Community Preservation Fund tax refund pursuant to the first-time homebuyers exemption for Eddie Max Stein and Priscilla Mayela.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 266, authorized Community Preservation Fund tax refund pursuant to the first-time homebuyers exemption for Matthew P. Nabellis.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 267, 2022, authorizing the acceptance of a donation to the police department.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Town Board Resolution 268 of 2022, to waive the showmobile fee for Eastport Fire Department barbecue.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Town Board Resolution 269 of 2022, waive showmobile fee for Hampton Bays Fire Department Carnival.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Rick gets all the fun stuff. Food trucks, and ice cream
Yeah.
trucks, snowmobiles.
I know. That's good. All right, 2022-270.
Snowmobile.
270. Yeah, 270 of 2022, resolution to accept a $100,000 performance bond for demolition of house located at 420 Montauk Highway, Southampton, tax map number 900-271-1-2.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 271 of 22, accepts resignation of a scale operator in waste management.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 272 of 22, accepts resignation of a management technician in public safety.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I approve. 273. Accepts retirement of Janet Johnson, Senior Office Assistant in Land Management.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier.
On the motion,
All
I
in favor?
want to wish Janet the very, very best. She's really going to be missed. I'm sure she's not hearing this, but she will be missed a lot, but I wish her the best.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. That's nice, John.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. We all wish her the best.
Certainly.
And, we thank Janet for her service in that department.
Definitely. Terrific person to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure Janice will miss her.
Absolutely.
We all will.
Yeah, she's good. She's very good.
Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 270. Congratulations. 274 of 2022 appoints Sophia Rivera to scale operator position in waste management.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 275 of 22 appoints Martin Pretorius to scale operator position in waste management.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Congratulations to both those individuals. 276 of 22 appoints Ashley Saccone to Animal Control Officer 1 position in public safety.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved and congratulations. 277 of 22 appoints Kelly Dwyer Kalb to the position of Assistant Senior Citizen Center Manager in Senior Services.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor? Aye. Approved and congratulations. 278 of 22 authorized hiring of Michael Figliolo, starting police officer.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. And this was the recommendation of Police Chief Skrinicki. I think he's already been through the academy, passed the test, and maybe was working with Nassau or Suffolk County. It's a transfer, right? No, I think he may have been either Suffolk PD or Nassau PD, but he has some experience. All right, we had a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved, and I'll try to let you guys know when the swearing in is going to be. Congratulations to Officer Figliolo. 279 of 2022 appoints Peter Strecker to Community Relations Specialist position in Youth Bureau.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Congratulations, Peter. 280 of 2022 appoints Sean McDermott to Chief Building Inspector position in the Building Department.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. Just on the motion, Sean's been there for a number of years. We were pleased to see him show some interest in the Chief Building Inspector position. I have every confidence that he'll do a great job there. This is a provisional title, a provisional appointment, so he will at some point have to pass the civil service test. But it's nice to have somebody who is so familiar with our building department take the helm of it. And I know he's a highly ethical person and a hard worker. So I'm pleased to support his appointment to Chief Building Inspector. So we had a motion, a second. Anyone else on the motion?
I just want to say Sean is an amazing individual and he has been just tremendous to work with, always professional, always just even keeled. And I'm so happy for him that he's getting this opportunity.
Yeah. It's been my experience as well. And he plays a mean bagpipe.
Yes, he does. That too.
He played at the organizational meeting too. All right. All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved, and congratulations to Sean. 281 of 2022 appoints Zimaro Arango Medina to Youth Counselor, Spanish speaking position in the Youth Bureau.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Congratulations. 282 of 22, authorize town Bay Constable personnel to attend annual training in Laconia, New Hampshire,
Second.
as long as they don't go by boat. So seconded by Councilwoman McNamara, all in favor? Aye. Approved. 283 of 2022, authorized town personnel for the town attorney's office to attend the 2022 Association of Towns all virtual educational training.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A lot of us
Thank you.
spent 7 hours there today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Unfortunately,
participated?
it's,
7 hours today.
It's
before
really
the-
good though, isn't it, Cindy?
It was really good. There were so many topics. It was great.
It's, yeah, I learn things when I go, even after all these years. There's always, things are always changing, and it's just, I didn't
Yeah,
participate this year. Hopefully next
I miss
year.
the
it'll be back.
in-person, the in-person is, you get that real interaction with the other folks from different municipalities up and down the state. And it's, but maybe next year.
Yeah, hopefully, I think next year. All right, 284 of 2022. Notice of public hearing to accept transfer and gift of the Ellis Squires House property, Hampton Bays, terminate stewardship agreement with Peconic Historic Preservation, Inc., and amend the CPF project plan and CPF stewardship and management plan to include that property. This would, let me get a second, just to notice a public hearing on the 22nd of March. Who was my second?
Second.
Councilman Martell. This is a really important property. This is the oldest house, I believe, in Hampton Bays, and it's falling into disrepair. The town owns it. We had entered into an agreement with a not-for-profit to manage it, Peconic Historic Preservation. They've been trying to get grants, etc. It's been very hard for them because we own the property. Some of the grants, like the Gardner Foundation, they don't like to give grants unless the not-for-profit actually owns the property. But this was not a CPF piece. What the idea will be here is to actually break the agreement with Peconic Historic Preservation, and they have no objection to this. Put it into the CPF program and then have CPF do the restoration of the house. CPF funds are, the fund is capable of doing the repairs that this group has been seeking to get the money to do. And this will solve the problem and give this house what it really deserves, the love and attention of such an important historic property. So, all right, so we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. I need to amend 285. It's a pretty simple amendment. It just says that the hearing will take place on Tuesday, April 12th, 2021.
That's a Scribner's error. You don't need to vote on it.
It's supposed to be 2022. So we don't need to do.
Yeah.
Jim, are you okay with just passing it?
Yes, I agree with the town clerk on that one, absolutely. Scribner's error.
And we'll just fix the hearing, the Scribner's error. Okay, so I'll just make a motion to approve then 285, notice of public hearing to accept transfer and gift of a portion of the former Girl Scouts of Nassau County, Inc. to the Community Preservation Fund program and add Squiretown Park to the CPF stewardship and management plan. And this will be, and I'll explain this too once I get the second, but this hearing will be April 12th, also 2022 at 1 p.m. Let me get a second.
I'll second that. I have to second it. My wife was a former director at Girl Scouts, so I was told.
All right, I'll take your second then, John. So the caretaker's cottage is right there on the corner. What is that? West Landing? What's the road there? Rick?
Yeah, it's West Landing.
Newtown? West Landing?
Yeah, West Landing in Newtown, yeah. And originally it was carved out when CPF bought the Girl Scout camp. It was carved out. It was never subdivided, but it was sort of described, and it was actually going to be affordable housing. Years went by, and it never was transferred into affordable housing, and fell into disrepair to the point where it really has to get torn down. People who live in that area have been complaining about it for a long time, and so this will be to give it to CPF and let them tear it down and incorporate it into the park. So it will solve that problem. And I believe it will take the one development right and bank it as well so that the housing fund has something. So because I think it was bought with probably general fund money, but the purpose was for affordable housing. So we'll take one development right from it. All right, any questions on that? Just a notice of public hearing. Right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 2022-286 to recall and amend road review application for Weinstein and Balls. Tax map is indicated in the resolution situated at Shinnecock Hills is accepted.
Second.
Second by Councilman McNamara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution, I'm sorry. Town Board Resolution. I missed that.
I just said approved. Is there something else?
No, I thought you approved it. I'm trying to move on because I'm seeing the end of the end of the packet.
Please, please.
No.
Look at the after 10.
We're on 280. Go ahead, read 287.
Oh, you're hungry, Jay.
Town Board Resolution 2022-287 is a road review application for 153 Herrick's LLC. Tax map as indicated on the resolution situated Flanders is accepted.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman McNamara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. I am hungry, but it's like 10 o'clock now. It's almost too
late
to eat.
Okay,
All
one
right.
more to go. Town Board Resolution. Oh, I'm sorry.
We have more than one. Go ahead, though.
Two walk-ons.
Two add-ons.
Town Board Resolution 2022-288 is a road review application for East End Homes Management Incorporated. Tax map is indicated in the resolution. Situate at Flanders is accepted.
Second.
Seconded by
Last of the pack.
Seconded by Councilman McNamara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now we go to the walk-ons, 39704. Is the fourth warrant, capital number 4, CPF number 4, payroll liability.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And ID 39714, it's authorizing the suspension of a police officer.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. And that is the last resolution. Is there?
But wait.
Yeah.
I just want to say that's the first public hearing I've ever spoken at where somebody didn't have to say 30 seconds.
Yes.
Had to to say it for a few others, but not you. Doesn't apply anymore to you.
Yeah, you don't have the time limit, Cindy. Not anymore. You used to. Now that you're on this side.
Yeah, I'll still try to stay brief. It's better that way.
Yeah, that applies to the public. All right, is there any other business?
Oh,
All right. So I will make a hearing none. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All at once. Second.
Good night, everyone.
Seconded by Council.